We are live right now on New Year's Eve, ready to go. So, I'm here with my bro PJ. PJ, how you doing? Are you ready to usher in a new year?
Well,
I,
it's already 2023 where I am. I'm in the future. Ooh, things
well,
haven't changed. 2023 isn't any different. What the hell?
you're in the strange new future realm of
Yes.
Newfoundland.
Yes.
So we got a man out of time. In the United States, it's nowhere. Like I'm in the central time zone. People, folks on the East Coast, they're still in 2022. We're still
10 minutes till New Year's in like New York in that time
yeah,
zone.
yeah. So we're in the past from your perspective. But how PJ, how's the future?
Like I said, it's just the same. I mean, things haven't gotten any better in these last 50 minutes.
Well, that's good that we know what to expect.
Everybody makes that lame joke when they're in a time zone. They're like, "Hey, I'm in the future." It's like, yeah. So in some countries, it's been 2023 for almost a whole day.
Yeah, like Guam, I think they're about to hit 2023 0102 in an hour.
We were worried about you.
Well,
The
I'm
chat was. We
I'm
thought
here
you got
now.
drunk and fell asleep.
I did fall asleep earlier, but that's not, I apologize for the delay. I was away from the computer. I got stuck. And we don't have like the best traffic in Austin, Texas. But also yes, I went to go eat some hot wings at my favorite wing place. Took me longer to get home than I had expected, but I made it now. So I apologize for the delay in getting back to my base, my HQ.
How much have you had to drink?
Oh shit, quite a bit. I've been drinking since like 9 or 10 this morning, and it's like 10 at night now. So very festive day on my end of the spectrum. But what about you? What about you, PJ? What have you been up to today?
I was asleep for most of the day. That's the way I like it.
No. As far as my New Year's Eve goes, I don't think you missed much in the way of observation.
My cat was a little freaked out by the fireworks.
My dog is really freaked out now, especially like where I live is a lot of people on my street are really obsessed with fireworks. I don't want to shame them. I think fireworks are pretty cool. I can admit to it. It's like you shoot something up in the sky and it blows up. That looks neat. Not blaming anyone, but my dog really does not like it. I don't know what to tell people though. He's hiding in his crate at the moment. But
Chuck A.
PJ,
Been
what's the name of your cat?
booger.
That's kind of a gross name, but also kind of cute at the same time.
Well, he's a booger.
I named my dog Amos after an Expanse character instead of a Star Trek character. Because at the time when we got him in 2020, my partner Antonia and we were like balls deep in the Expanse. We were really like having a good time watching that show.
Yeah, it was a great show. They should continue it with some TV movies or something. Prime
Isn't
should
that the
have.
plan at Amazon though? Aren't they like considering doing more Expanse?
Yeah. Uh, HBO canceled Raised by Wolves and Westworld. Didn't really give it the shows a chance to wrap up. And
Mm-hmm.
usually, what HBO used to do, which I don't think they're going to do anymore with all the new management, is that there was. I'll give you two examples. There was a show called Deadwood that ended 3 seasons in unresolved, and there was another show called Hello Ladies, and there's been other shows that they've done this with too. What they do is if they prematurely kind of cancel a show, they give it a movie, like Hello Ladies the movie or Deadwood the movie, or there's been other shows that have done that. I don't think they're going to do that with Westworld or Raised by Wolves. I really wanted to see a conclusion to Raised by Wolves, but oh well. I guess not enough people watched it. It's a brutal science fiction dystopian show that maybe wouldn't jive with the general audience. Maybe I don't know.
I feel like I'm part of the blame for the cancellation of Westworld because I've seen the original movie from the 70s, but I never watched a single episode of the new TV show. I say new. I know it was like on for several years.
The first season is the best, and then each season doesn't quite live up to what the first one was.
That's sad but unfortunate, but also kind of expected in a few different TV shows these days.
Are you looking forward to The Last of Us? I've never played the video game.
I've never played the video game, but I watched my partner Antonia play the game, and it's really neat. It actually like opens like right outside Austin, Texas. The game begins like the first mission is like in a town south of Austin, and that was trippy to watch someone play that. It's like, oh, that you're like, I guess you're driving down I-35 right now, trying to escape the zombie apocalypse. So that's neat. I don't know where the show is going to be set. I don't know if they're going to follow the example of the video game, have it be set in the same exact same place. But I'm curious about the movie just because the video game was such a big popular thing.
Mando season 3. I wonder if that overlaps with. Okay, March. No, wait, March 1st. So yeah, it's gonna temporarily overlap with The Last of Us. And that's 2 shows starring Pedro Pascal.
When's the premiere date on those? I know Last of Us is pretty soon, and then Mando is also early in the year. But
Mando is March 1st, and Last of Us is the 15th of January.
15th of January, so that's in like 2 weeks and 2 days, basically.
We're getting that 90s show and Night Court. 2 more sitcom revivals, which is like a trend now. I'm still waiting for Family Matters. Like, do Family Matters already? Like, why? I know it was a silly show, but I loved it.
Well, before we get to I agree with you. It's going to come eventually. I'll say the inevitable return of Steve Urkel.
Makes sense.
Before that, though,
What?
you said what shows? What are you talking about?
Night Court.
Night
You ever
Court.
watch?
Okay,
Did you watch it as a kid?
Brent Spiner was on Night Court. Yeah.
Yeah. They're bringing it back now with the girl from I don't know her name from Big Bang Theory is playing the daughter of Harry, the judge from the original show,
That's kind of funny though.
and John Larroquette is back.
Okay, well he's in Star Trek 3, so
Yes,
we got to support him, or at least I do. That's
you
how
know what'd
my
be cool
Trek
if
brain works.
I would be over the moon if Brent Spiner's character from Night Court came back as like an older man, or maybe he's a lawyer now. I don't know, but
Because
he was
he
kind
played
of
like a hillbilly.
Did he? I thought he
Yeah.
was a con. I thought he was a con artist. Maybe I'm confusing. I haven't seen the show in a long time.
No, he was like he was like this like country bumpkin.
Oh, okay.
But I'm all for bringing him back. If he's just like, I'm sorry, Your Honor, we got wrapped up in another crime. I didn't mean to, but me and my wife, we were like, that's the type of dude he was before. It was like, oh my god, I didn't know I was cooking meth in an RV. I thought we were making Halloween candy or like something like that. That would be like, to me, that would be like the the obvious route of how to bring his character back. But I'm all for a new Night Court. I I think it'd be funny to see him again as that same character.
Yeah, the trailer looks all right. I mean, it is what it is.
That
Night
was his
Court.
claim to fame prior to Star Trek. I think. I don't know. I was a baby when TNG began, so
Bring
I'm
back
not
Perfect Strangers with
perfect
Balky,
strangers.
cousin Balky, or cousin Larry and Balky.
What was remind me what Perfect Strangers was?
It was a it was a guy who gets a roommate who's an immigrant. I forget the name of the country, and they're just like it's like an odd couple situation. In fact, there's a character in Perfect Strangers named Harriet Winslow,
Harriet
uh,
Winslow.
who's the security. I think she's the elevator operator, and she becomes like security later. I can't really remember. But anyway, they liked her character so much. They even had Carl Winslow on there, I think, at one point,
Hmm.
that they said, let's make a show about the elevator operator from Perfect Strangers, Harriet Winslow, and that became
Family
Family
Matters.
Matters. I'm really giving my age right now.
But
'Cause
the thing was like the initial idea with Family Matters, it wasn't even like let's do like Harriet Winslow and Carl Winslow and their family. And or I apologize. That is actually kind of what the original premise was. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, everyone thinks like their neighbor, the Steve Urkel character. Everyone thinks he's like really funny. Let's just make it the Steve Urkel show."
yeah,
And he kind of
that's what.
came in later as the not so much like he came in later, but like they made the decision to refocus the show to incorporate him as more of a central character.
He did, and he even the character even like went over to other sitcoms too, like
He was on Step by Step.
Step by Step, I think.
I
And what
remember
was the
that
other
one.
one? Full House. He was on Full House.
Well,
Do
that
you
was his main show. Was
Step
Full
by Step
House.
was a show I watched. I wasn't really like crazy about, but you
Step
know,
by step, day by day.
is that the song?
Yeah,
Is
something
it?
like that.
I can't
I
remember.
think I don't know. Yeah, the
But
shit was like 30 years ago.
Step by Step had two characters on there called Beavis and Butthead, and they were the live action version of Beavis and Butthead. They weren't in the show. They were pretending to be Beavis, but they looked just like them, like just like the cartoon, and they spoke like them too. And I was like, that recently came up when I was looking at Beavis and Butthead stuff when they did the revival this year, and I was like, holy shit, they were characters on Step by Step. It was like, wow. I remember it, but it's like I'd completely forgotten.
I did not know that was a thing. I don't. I must not have seen that episode or whatever.
Are you looking up the image?
Yeah, I okay.
Beavis
I
and
see
Butthead,
them
Step by
now.
Step. Yeah.
So I believe you. That was an actual thing. That was in live action television at some point in 1994, apparently. But yeah, um, I can't say that I regret missing this. But yeah,
Used to love
apparently, like
TGIF. Remember TGIF? It was like Full House. I think it was Full House
yeah,
Family Matters. I don't know if Family Matters was on that. Yeah, it was ABC. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Step by
yeah.
Step. And
We based TQIF on that. That was all a thing.
do you
And
remember the movie Camp Cucamonga, where they had all of the sitcom kids from the era in a TV movie? It was like Urkel and DJ from Full. It was all the kids, and it was a terrible movie. It was like dude from Cheers was in it as well. It was just all these sitcom people in a
what
TV
dude from
movie.
Cheers was in it?
Uh,
The
Norm,
main dude, like
Norm,
okay.
Camp Cucamonga. I don't know why that just came to me. I was just thinking all of it. And it's like all of these, like the cast of not Wonder, yeah, the Wonder Years was there, Full House, Family Matters, and Cheers, and all of the things. Yeah, these are these are the guys who play. The dude who plays Beavis looks just like like he could have done the live action version.
Yeah, here's our live action version from I guess Step by Step of Beavis and Butthead. But Jeremiah in our live audience is saying happy 23, and some other people are saying happy 2023. So if you have any New Year's wishes you'd like to share, by all means, sound off in the chat. Yeah, I did not see this episode of Step by Step. This is one that slipped past me, PJ.
Well, they're also reviving Who's the Boss with Tony Danza and Melissa Milano, who I've loved since I was like I've always
Wow.
liked Melissa Milano.
That's a show I've not thought about in a very, very, very long time. Who's
Remember
the
Jennifer
boss?
Love Hewitt? What happened to her? Like, didn't she just fall off the face of the earth? That was another girl like everybody was kind of in love with, like could do no wrong type of thing. And she did this thing in the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. I think she was in two of them, where she would like it was always raining, and she would like put out
Mm.
her arms and say, "Come get me." She would always tell the killer like "Come at me" or "I'm right
Come
here."
at me, bro.
And that was like her thing. She'd stick her arms out and was like, "Come right here, come get me, killer," with the hook or whatever it was.
I never saw the revival of that, but I'm also like I'm not very familiar with the original TV show.
Well,
Is
the Who's the Boss revival is filming now, so or it's
okay.
filming soon or something. But yeah,
I
won't be
see
out
in
until
our
like September. You know what was not a bad sitcom revival that just came and went? Mad About You. They did a Mad About You season like where they have an adult daughter. Of course, the dog is long gone. I was like an idiot. I was like, "Where's the dog?" Oh wait, yeah, they wouldn't have the dog 30 years later.
was am I like being dumb, or was Helen Hunt in that show? Or
Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser.
okay, okay, it's the show I'm thinking
Tell
of
me
then.
why I love you like I do. Actually, you know what's funny about that show? It also had a cameo at one point from Kramer. It crossed over with Seinfeld,
Is it
which
part of the Seinfeld shared universe?
Seinfeld. But see, the thing is, Jerry Seinfeld plays himself like in one episode too, so it's weird. But you could argue that Friends, the big mega show Friends, which I don't really care for,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
actually a spin-off of Mad About You. Not technically, but you could kind of argue that because
Mad About You is first.
Mad About You had a character played by I don't know, I forget her name. Oh my god. The one who plays Phoebe, she had a twin sister who was on Mad About You, and like Phoebe was on Friends, and they would meet, and there was crossover. Anyway, it's so stupid. Yes, that's right, Aaron. Phoebe's sister works at the cafe on Mad About You. They were
Okay.
identical twin sisters. And you know what's funny? The times they did have them interact on Friends, it was like pretty impressive visual effects. I remember, like they were doing things like passing each other objects. I'm like, how the fuck are they doing that
It's not like that
on
actor
a
has like
TV
a
budget?
has a twin in real life or anything like that.
No,
Is okay.
no.
This is
Do you know
actually a special
Vin Diesel
effect.
has a twin? Did you know that? An identical
No,
twin.
I didn't know that. I know that Linda Hamilton has a twin that they used on a deleted scene of Terminator 2.
Yeah, yeah. And also in the actual theatrical cut, she makes a cameo toward the end when the T-1000 is impersonating her, and like the real her comes along. It's like, oh, that's pretty impressive visual effects. Not visual effects. It's a twin.
James Cameron just using twins. Is that the secret behind Avatar? They're all
They're all
just
just the same actor playing every role.
yeah,
Sigourney Weaver
just a
plays
twin.
everybody.
Is she in? Because I haven't seen the new one, but is she in it in some way, shape, or form? I think it'd be easy to incorporate her, right?
Who? What?
Sigourney Weaver.
She is in Avatar too.
Okay.
She plays her own daughter,
Huh.
and her voice is modulated to some degree where it's a higher pitch, or maybe I don't know. Maybe Sigourney Weaver did really manage to sound like a young person.
You saw the new Avatar though, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your overall thoughts on that movie?
It was fun. It was the best CGI water I've ever seen.
The best CG
Store,
water.
yeah, CGI water. It's like flawless.
So, but
It's so good.
it beat Aquaman and Wakanda Forever and everything else that tried to create like an underwater civilization.
Well, I haven't seen Wakanda Forever, but yeah, it looks pretty good.
Okay.
I have no argument against the VFX. I feel bad for the VFX artists, which are overworked and underpaid and probably like lost their minds on this movie.
Yeah.
But
They did a
the
good job, is what you're saying.
the story is so simplistic, and it's like the same bad guy from the first one, only in blue cat form, Navi form, and you can kind of like tell what's coming around the corner. I didn't expect what happened to. I didn't expect. I forget his name. The bad guy's fate. Like what happened to him. I figured, oh, he's gonna. This is what's gonna happen at the end, and that's gonna be like it. But I'm like, oh, they're giving you a little opportunity to wonder about where he might go in the future.
Well, we know James Cameron wants to do like Avatar 3 and 4 and 5 and I don't how many of those has he promised at this point?
Well, I know they want to do five, but
5.
he's three is already shot.
Okay.
Four, I think most of four is. It's just a matter of post production. I would assume if he wants to have Avatar 3 come out in 2024, which seems like unrealistic considering the amount of visual effects, I would have to assume they've gotten very far along on Avatar 3 in terms of finished shots,
Okay.
because otherwise they're not going to make it's going to be like one of these deals where it's like Avatar 3 delayed until 2029.
Yeah, I doubt they'll announce it too soon, but it did take them 13 years to get the second one out. I know the third one won't take as long, but yeah, it's probably a safe bet to say 2024 at the soonest. Not that I've not looked into it at all. I have no idea what shot, what isn't. I'm just gonna throw that out there as a guess. I say next Avatar movie 2024 or later.
Yeah, they need to keep the momentum going. I don't think people are going to tolerate waiting so long. And
Yeah,
you have all these
don't do
people
that
who are
again.
like, James Cameron sucks and blah 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 blah. I'm like, I get it. Like the storytelling is not the best. I mean, you look at Titanic, which some people, it's a great movie.
A lot of people shit on
Wonderful.
it, but it's not bad.
It is. It is some like classic melodramatic, fucking like soap opera kind of story. It's simple but effective, is what I say. It's not. It's not anything to write home about. It's more in the spectacle than anything else.
That's probably part of his appeal on like a big blockbuster scale because like we can't deny it. This Avatar sequel is incredibly successful. The original was the highest grossing film of all time for many, many, many years. Titanic was a box office juggernaut that was unbeatable until Avatar came along. So James Cameron knows how to get the mass audience attraction. No one can refute that. Um, but I could I could see people saying that yeah, like it's too simple of a story, but but it goes over well. Yeah, if you want to call it a simple story, I'm not saying you're wrong.
It's a
You're
ride. It's
you're
more of a
probably
ride
right.
than any
But
kind of intellectual kind of journey. You're just
yeah,
like, oh, you've got my kids, bad guy. I'm gonna get you. And he's like, come any closer, and they're dead. It's like, but we're gonna attack anyway. And oh, this one dies. It's like there's some cool like whale stuff. It's all about like saving the planet. Basically, it's very environmentalist.
mm-hmm.
Um, he
It's not a bad message to put in your movie. And
James
a lot of people hate on James Cameron and Avatar and shit, but it's like he's not doing anything bad. It's not like his movie has like a bad message or anything.
James Cameron is still worried about AI, especially now we're getting into the AI art, the AI bots that can like write a story or like do all kinds of things.
I'm worried about AI, so I definitely don't blame him on that one.
He was on a
Was
pod. He was on a podcast talking about. It was Smartless. It was podcast called Smartless, and he's like they're in talks about like doing Terminator again, like rebooting it, I guess, but nothing's concrete. But he said
Mm-hmm.
if they revisit it, they're going to focus less on the actual machine killers and more on the AI aspect. I just threw my hands up in the air and just said, like, just stop. Like, the
Just
Terminator
stop
2
making
was it.
Terminator movies. Yeah.
Terminator 2 with its original ending, with Linda Hamilton as an old woman in the park and John Connor's there playing with the kid. That's a 1 and 2 are perfect universe movies, and you take it beyond that and you just fuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3, I remember seeing 3, just being like, you. It's like you only appreciate James Cameron when he's not there to direct the thing that he's known for. Like if someone came along and directed Avatar 3, you'd be like, "Oh, I see the difference. It's not as good. It's not as visually good." He's a stickler for that shit. Like
Oh yeah,
things
like the
have to
pristine
look
visuals.
good.
But he directed the first Terminator in 1984, and then the second Terminator came out like 91, 92, somewhere around then. But what kind of hit me as a kid, growing up in the 90s, is I would talk about that with people. Like, yeah, like they should make a Terminator 3. What if they did like a Terminator 3? And I remember this was like the late 90s, but I remember it was that my friend who lived across the street from me, James Pruitt. I was over at his house. We were watching Terminator 2. I was talking about like it'd be so cool if they did like a Terminator 3. And I remember his mom being like, well, if they were going to do a Terminator 2, they would have, or a Terminator 3. If they were going to do a Terminator 3, they would have done it by now. And this is like just 4 or 5 years before the actual Terminator 3 came out. But yeah, I just remember like imagine that being the reality of the world again, where Terminator was so popular and was like these two massive big hit movies, especially Terminator 2. Everyone loved Terminator 2. And just the general opinion on the street was like, okay, well, they're done, right? They're not going to do more of these.
There
No, they
was
won't stop making them.
if you want to see like a semi spiritual sequel to Terminator 2, actually directed by James Cameron, it's like 6 or 7 minutes. It's nothing to write home about. It's the ride. So they had Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
Uh-huh.
it's a 3D ride that used to be, I don't know where it was.
It was at the
Universal?
or
No.
yeah, Orlando, Universal Studios Orlando, I believe. But I know what I remember people talking about it. Yeah, because there was no Terminator 3 for a long time. I remember people talking about like, oh yeah, the Terminator 2 3D ride at Universal. That's the closest thing we're ever gonna get to a third movie, right?
It's like it's a little tag. I mean, it doesn't make sense canonically, but basically, I don't know. I think it might take place. I don't know where. But anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger and what's his name? Who's the kid who played Edward Furlong?
Mm-hmm.
He's in it. He's a couple of years older too. You can tell, right? I think it might have been filmed in 94, 95. I can't.
Is
But
it on
he looks
YouTube now?
older. Hmm?
Is it
It is on YouTube.
okay?
And basically, John Connor goes to the future with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're still running away from the T-1000. And it's like this is big extended action sequence where it's like a chase, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
up to movie level quality. Like the CG is like there's CG drones and stuff in it, and it's ambitious, but
It looks
it's
like 1990s CGI.
yeah, but it is for a little ride, kind of like short subject kind of thing. It's pretty good. I watched it recently. I was like, oh wow, I remember this.
And Cameron was actually involved with that project, if I recall correctly.
He directed it. I'm pretty sure he directed
Yeah.
it.
Like for a while he was calling that the official sequel to Terminator 2.
I can't remember where I'd seen that first. It might have been on a DVD extra or something, but like then I noticed it on YouTube. Not in HD quality or anything, but
Mm-hmm. What all have we had in Terminator after Terminator 2 though? We had Terminator 3, that was in like 2003, 2004, somewhere around then.
Terminator Salvation,
Oh, they did
2009.
the Sarah Connor Chronicles the TV show
To see a Kana Chronicles.
that had Cersei Lannister
Cersei Lannister. Oh
as
yeah,
Sarah Connor.
and you know the dude who plays the kid, or John Connor, isn't he in the new season of Picard?
Ooh, is that new that yeah, there is a youngster involved in the new season. I'll have to let me fact check that.
I must say I loved shooting the Terminator movies. What is the chat talking about?
I see talk on Daniel CO is saying after
The hell are
Terminator
you
3 it
talking
was all
about? It
downhill.
wasn't all downhill. Terminator 3 was the best.
I liked what was the last
I'll
one
be
they made?
back.
The most recent one was Dark Fate. Is that what it's called?
No, I take it back. Dark Fate was the best one. I'm old in the
That actually
movie.
was not bad, Arnold. You did decent work in that movie.
Thank you. Did you watch my movie over the holiday, Jingle All the Way? It's a cult classic.
Yeah, I saw Jingle All the Way like 25 years ago. I thought it was a fine movie. Of you
I
had a
told Phil
you
Hartman, I said, put the cookie down.
Phil Hartman's character is the funniest part of that movie. He's just trying to cuck you the whole way through. He's like trying to bang your wife, and part of me finds that hilarious.
I told him, who told you you could touch my wife's cookies?
But and your kid, people might not remember this, but your kid in that movie was played by everyone's favorite character, everyone's favorite actor, fucking Jake Lloyd from Anakin Skywalker in the Phantom Menace. Little
Well, I have
Jake
no
Lloyd.
idea what you're talking about. This Anakin Skywalker, I don't know.
He won the pod race. He defeated Sebulba. It was a big deal in 1999.
Listen, I'm just trying to get my son a Turbo Man doll.
Well, there is no Turbo Man in Star Wars, but there is a Darth Vader, and your little boy grew up to become Darth Vader in that other franchise.
By the way, check out my new TV show on Netflix in 2023. I'm sure it'll be very good. Okay, enough of that shit.
What show is that?
I don't know. He's doing a spy show, a spy comedy show on Netflix next year, which is funny because we now have Harrison Ford in a TV show for the first time. We have Sylvester Stallone starring in a TV show for the first time.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, and The Rock already has a sitcom in which he stars in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm wondering which is the next big movie star that's never been in Leonardo DiCaprio's never starred in a TV show, and I can see that right down the pike.
He was on TV as a youngster, though. Was it Step by
go,
Step? Was that the show he was on?
No, it was. Oh my God, how Alan Thicke, that guy.
He was someone's cousin. He was like
Somebody
the
in the
cousin
chat's
that moved
gonna.
in.
Growing pains.
Growing pains. Okay.
He played an alcoholic teenager.
Yeah. Was he really an alcoholic, or was that like a plot twist when he like wasn't actually drinking? I don't remember. I remember that scene though, where the dad was like, "What are you doing with all these empty beer bottles? Are you drinking? Are you a drunk?"
Alan Thicke, I love him. He's so cool.
Yeah, probably a better performance than you've ever given Arnold, but not to say your stuff is bad, but you know, you probably haven't done anything quite like that in your day.
Show me that smile again. Don't waste another minute on you crying.
What was the best Arnold Schwarzenegger performance of all time? Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin.
Oh,
Probably.
chill.
Yeah, all the ice puns.
I am cold to your pleas of mercy. Chill. I'm trying to watch the movie. He's so bad in that. I wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Mr. Freeze since Batman Returns, no joke. And then it was like the first time in my life that they actually cast the person that I wanted. And then I was so disappointed. I
I
was so
remember
sad.
hearing about that, thinking of just trying to imagine what it would look like. Like I kept trying to picture Arnold Schwarzenegger with like a fish bowl over his head, like some type of I don't know, because it's like Mr. Freeze in the comics. He always kind of had, especially after they kind of like revived him for the 1990s cartoon in 1992. But he kind of seemed like, okay, he's gonna be a badass dude. He has to have like some type of dome over his head though. They always give him like some type of dome, some glass dome. So I was like, I was thinking he's gonna look like kind of like an alien from Mars attacks with like that glass dome over his head. But they ended up going with a very different type of design in the final product.
I was up for the role of Mr. Freeze. Check out my new show, Son of a Critch, Season 2, January 2023.
I have to check that. I gotta give a shout out to Snoopy McQueen who gave us a super chat
Oh, wow.
on YouTube. So
I
thank you, Snoopy, for the New Year's Eve super chat. We really appreciate that.
think. Daniel says Predator was great too. Yes, Predator, I would argue, is probably Arnold's best movie off the top of my head. That and True Lies, maybe? I don't know. Terminator 2 is up there, but like there's so much going on in that film besides Arnold Schwarzenegger that also makes that good. But like in terms
Hmm.
of like just star power, like coming up, uh, Predator's really good. Did you see Prey?
I did see Prey on Hulu. I thought that was a very fun movie. I was very happy. It's the first time I was happy there was a Predator sequel in my honestly in my entire life. You know, like I'm not there had been some good stuff in there, but I was never like happy. Like, oh, I'm so glad they made this, and until I saw Prey. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, people do not know this, but I was the mocap for the bear no, I can't do it. I can't do his accent.
Mm.
I'm like really tired. But I was gonna say uh, the bear fight between the predator and that whole thing was great. It just everybody complained about how shitty it looked. Like the bear is like really
The Bear and Prey.
the bear in Prey is it really does take you out of it. But at the same time, I'm very forgiving of visual effects, especially this past year because I've heard so much about the industry and how overworked and underappreciated they are. And I think Prey should have gotten a theatrical release, and a lot of people have said this too, where if they had like put some extra money or redid the bear to make that bear whole sequence like really great, the movie would have been damn near perfect because toward the end when the predator goes buck wild on
Yeah.
all these dudes, it is brutal and it is so well done and well directed. And but yeah, that's the only gripe anybody has with that movie is that CGI bear. Like the concept of the fight is great, but
I mean, it was a made for Hulu movie.
yeah.
So if you go into it expecting like TV level CGI instead of movie level CGI, you're probably less likely to be disappointed. But yeah,
Did you see Hellraiser?
uh,
That was another
the
Hulu
new
straight to
one,
Hulu. Yeah.
I didn't see it. I heard a lot of good talk. A lot of people seem to like, at least people in my circles seem to like the recasting they did. The new woman who played the new Pinhead. What did you think of the movie overall, PJ?
It I appreciated it toward the end, although while I was watching I was like it feels like it's too slow. I was wanting more gore and more kind of like Cenobite action.
Mm.
And the moment you start getting frustrated with that, the lack of it, and like, okay, there's a lot of talking. I give it credit. There's character development. They want you to get to know these characters. And the wounds they suffer feel very realistic. Like they real, you know how people like get messed up and they don't seem as hurt as they are.
Hmm.
These people, when they get fucked up by the Cenobites, like it hurts and it looks painful and it's very well done. And then I can't really remember, maybe the last 40 minutes. And it's not a long movie, but dude, there's some good Cenobite action. It's like, it's a really well It's how you reimagine them for the modern age without messing with the formula so much. And on top of that, it's not very hard to make a good Hellraiser movie if you put some effort in, because the last, I don't know, 7 or something have been like some lackluster shit, like straight to
Yeah,
video kind of. I
I've
love the
lucked
third
out.
one though. The third one is
The original
ridiculous.
third Hellraiser from probably 23 years ago or whenever it was made.
No, probably 1990 or something like that. Maybe it was 92.
Okay, I apologize for. I'm gonna mute myself before I ask the Google Home. That's actually what I'm gonna do because I know it can like uh disturb other people's digital devices where they live. So let me real quick mute myself, and I will ask it when Hellraiser 3 came out.
Um,
When did
Terry,
Hellraiser 3 come out?
In the United States of America, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth was released on September 11th, 1992.
oh, I was right. I didn't look that
September
up, by the way.
11th. Okay.
But yeah, Terry Farrell is in that one, and it's the one with like the club scene.
Oh my goodness. I didn't I've never I think I've never seen the third one cuz I
With
didn't
like
know
they
she was in
weaponize
it.
the CDs, and the CDs become like throwing stars and like impale people, and the camera guy becomes a Cenobite. He's like a camera guy Centibite. It's really fuck. He's got like a lens for an eye. It's very Borg.
Huh.
Actually, if you watch like out of okay, the Cenobites kind of are Borgish anyway, but like in the third
Uh-huh.
one, they're especially Borgish. By the way, the idea for the look of the Borg came from a Michael Jackson music video where where Angelica Houston played like a Borg like queen. I don't know what they were called in the thing, but
I need
that's
to
where
look this up. I've never I watched a lot of Michael Jackson music videos, but I never saw that one.
it's Captain E. It's like a short film, Captain EO from back in
Captain
the
EO?
day. Do you remember the sequence where like all
I
these
know what it
there's
is.
all these Borg there, and it's like holy shit, these are the Borg. If I'm not saying like maybe they did, I don't know, but I always thought like I just assumed I'm like oh that's where they got the idea for the look of the Borg was from this
From Captain
Captain
EO.
Captain EO, and then Angelica Houston is like a Borg queen. It's very interesting.
Wow. I know all about Captain EO. I never went to Disney World when they had that ride, but that was they had like this Michael Jackson future space ride thing called Captain EO that I've seen on YouTube and on like on the internet many years ago. I was like, this was like 15 years ago when I saw this online, so it was at least 15 years older than that when it originally existed. But yeah, that is nuts. That uh, and also about Hellraiser, you said Terry Farrell was in the third one, but did you know that Andy Robinson, Garrick himself, was in the original? He played the dad in the first Hellraiser movie. If anyone remembers that, that was back in the
I
late
didn't realize
'80s,
I was
early
muted. Yeah, I
'90s.
was agreeing. Yeah, uh,
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
yeah.
Speaking of which, DS9, Dave and I will be covering the final two seasons of DS9 very soon, which I'm tremendously excited about.
You think they will never remaster it, right? You're on that side of the aisle.
No, I think it'll happen eventually whenever it's like cheap enough to do it. But they're not gonna go out of their way like they did with TNG because no one bought those Blu-rays. It was a disaster
Yeah,
for
it
Paramount.
wouldn't be about selling Blu-rays at this point because physical
Right?
media is basically dead, and
Yeah.
that's a big factor too. Like, how would you make money off it? However, they may because it's it's a thing now in Hollywood. Like, whatever's on film before that film is too old to kind of mess with,
Hmm.
you digitize it at whatever resolution you need to. I think TNG those masters were like 2K is what I heard, and and it took 4 years to put that together at a cost of maybe like $12 million or something like that. DS9 would be much more expensive, but it would be less expensive to just archive every bit of film you have, and then at some point, if there's a reason to or the motivation to put it together, which is like a whole nother, you have to do post-production all over again on all of these episodes. Like there's no way around it unless like your idea was
which is what they did.
AI technology would upgrade it. They should have done that already. They should have had a version of DS9 on Paramount Plus or wherever it is. That's what I don't understand. Why aren't companies just saying, let's just go the cheap option for now and AI upgrade it like 720 at best? You know what I mean? And then if people are like into that, we can say, well, here's the 4K version. Because goddamn, when you watched What We Left Behind on the big screen, that DS9 footage looked immaculate on the big screen.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was glorious. I remember seeing that. It was such a distinct memory. If I can self-indulge and just go on a What We Left Behind tangent for a little bit, but if you don't know what we're talking about, some people in the live audience might not know, but that was the documentary that they did for DS9 called What We Left Behind, because the final episode of the show was called What You Leave Behind. So they named the documentary What was it? It was What We Left Behind, right? Was the name of the documentary.
Yes.
Yeah, the episode was What You Leave Behind. The documentary is What We Left Behind. Anyways, I just remember like I saw that in the theater it didn't open until 1998. Actually, the first movie I ever saw there was Titanic. But there was an older theater there in the old days before 1998 that I saw many, many movies at. And then I saw many, many movies since then. So it was a lot of fun, like driving there to see the DS9 documentary and just seeing it on like the big screen where I'd watched a lot of movies growing up. But we have Ruben here.
Yay.
Ruben, the Martian, has come to grant us a
Happy New Year, people.
Happy New Year, East Coast.
Fucking live long and motherfucking prosper.
Yeah, it's the new year there in Florida. They have entered 2023. He's from the future. You're a future year, Ruben, for me. You and PJ both.
Father, you're stuck in the past, dude.
I am. I've been in 2022. We've been streaming for over 47 minutes. My favorite number, by the way, 47. But yeah, this entire time I've been stuck in 2022.
You're so 2022, bro.
Sorry, I'm doing the best I can,
Hey guys, I know almost the entire first episode of Picard in great detail. Want me to spoil everything, every little bit?
No, you don't have to tell us. I'm sure
you can
Ruben,
tell me in DM.
All I can say is that I'm fucking excited. Just from the first episode, there's not, and to be honest, not interesting stuff happens, but not like you're not getting right into it right away type of thing. But like how they set it up, I think it was revealed like the catalyst is Beverly. Something happens to Beverly, and that's what sets the story in motion. There's other things that are on the go too, but man, I can't wait for Picard season 3 just to see fucking LeVar Burton and Michael Dorn and Brent Spiner and fucking all of these guys, and Gates McFadden and Patrick Stewart and.
That will be
fun.
Well,
I'm used to him, but apparently he's not the same Picard. Like it seems so different from what I'm hearing. Anyway,
PJ, did you see a couple of things. I do want to ask you about the clip, but before I do that, I just want to ask people. I'm sorry, I've lost track of time.
Can I answer Tara's question?
Yeah. Answer that. It's just we should acknowledge it is New Year's on the East Coast, United States. So, congratulations. I guess we'll point it out when we hit it here in the Central Time Zone. I do want to ask about PJ and Ruben about Picard season 3, but before I do that, what do you got, PJ?
Oh, Tara says, "Is it too big a spoiler to tell us who's calling on the comm badge?" There is a scene that was officially released where Captain Picard is getting a call from his old Enterprise D comm badge.
They're like, Jean-Luc Picard, we're reaching out to you about your car's extended warranty.
That scene is apparently right after the opening. Like, there's a cold open with Beverly. I won't say what happens, and then Picard is contacted by her through this. It's an encoded message, and it has something to do with the time
What the fuck do you want?
It has something to do with the time he was Locutus. There was something in the Best of Both Worlds that we didn't know about how, like, they used they invented a frequency that had something to do with 0.33 something, and they're like, it's something like Picard didn't know about because he was Locutus at the time, but like everybody else knows about it, like his other crew, like Beverly, Riker, and all it's like knowledge to them. I don't know why Picard didn't know, but Beverly is using that frequency for whatever reason because of like its evasiveness and detection or something. So it's a distress call from Beverly. That's all I'll say. But I know too much and I was spoiled. I was spoiled, but I was like, give it to me. Just keep going.
A woman sending a distress call to start off the season. Where have I seen that before? Oh, season 1. Oh, and season 2.
But what Beverly's doing at the beginning of the episode is so in line with who Beverly is as a doctor and like someone with a moral center. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a habitat for like she's helping people who can't be helped.
Wasn't
basically.
season 1 of Strange New Worlds? Didn't that start with a distress call from a woman?
It did, yeah. Number 1 sending
Copy paste.
Oh, come on. But yeah,
I'm encouraging people not to get their hopes up too much for Picard season 3. But I definitely do think people will like it more than the first 2 seasons, just based on the things we've already heard. At least starting off. Will it resolve everything in a perfect way? That I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it play out, though. Regardless,
do you know how lower decks is like reference, which is cool, but it's like, hey, this is remember this. Mm-hmm. There seems to be a hell of a lot of that in the 3rd season of Picard, like this thing you remember, and I was like, in the first episode alone, it's like seems like they're kind of relying on that, and that seems worrisome to me. Like, we're gonna replace quality for quantity of references, I suppose, for lack of a better term. But
the clip even shows that with like, look at this TNG uniform, look at this TNG comm badge,
and the line where Patrick Stewart actually says Enterprise D comm badge. It's like, did you have to say that? Because we know, like, you don't really have to, unless newcomers are like, what's this old uniform? What's this old comm badge? And he's like, Enterprise D. And they're like, oh, yeah, old Enterprise. Okay, cool. And, yeah.
Yeah, it's even weird how he describes it as, like, over 20 years ago. And it's like,
it's like 30 years ago.
Yeah, 30 would have been more accurate. I mean, he ain't wrong. Like, it is from over 20 years ago, but... Yeah, that was that seems a little weird. The one thing that stood out to me in that clip though was the music. They've talked a lot about like how the score is going to be so good and how they're going back to a lot of like the Goldsmith and James Horner music from
that
the movies.
That kind of tinkly kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but
made me think of like First Contact and Nemesis and stuff. Like when there's danger lingering, like early in those movies, it reminded me of that. I think the music's going to be very good.
There is a lot of
season 3.
There is some of what I heard, like the Titan theme sounds very Star Trek 3.
Yeah, very James Horner-esque. I love James Horner. I love Star Trek 3. That's one of my favorite movies. I'd be curious to hear other people's favorite Star Trek movies. So no, I have a weird one with Star Trek 3 as my favorite. Ruben and PJ, what are y'all's favorite Star Trek movies?
Mine is Wrath of Khan and First Contact, but I like them all now. Like I maybe have problems with each one, but I gotta tell you, five is a fun movie to watch, and it gets better with age in terms of not like it doesn't improve in quality. It's just it's it's like the more you're aware of it, it's like, okay, William Shatner directed this.
Yeah.
He's a complete burnout, is what we say here. It means like you're just kind of off the rails with your imagination, and like you're like, fuck it, do it, like that kind of attitude. And like the cat with the three breasts that he throws into the tank. But there's also genius in the movie too, like hold your horse, or like when Spock fucking Vulcan neck pinches the horse, like all that when they're on horses and all that setting.
Uh-huh.
And even that people call it a cringeworthy scene with Nichelle Nichols doing the fan dance.
I hated that as a
Just
kid.
I didn't like it as a kid. I so appreciate it as an adult.
I had to get old enough to learn to like, as a kid you don't understand like, oh yeah, a woman over 50 years old can still have sex appeal. But like you don't, when you're 12 that doesn't make sense to you. But eventually you age to the point to where it does.
Nichelle Nichols never ceased to be attractive, like never in her life. Like as from the time she came up in Star Trek to like when she was old as hell. I remember there was an episode of Comic Book Men, that Kevin Smith show, and Nichelle Nichols came in, and she was like attracted to the big tall guy with the long beard, Brian.
Oh yeah, that dude.
And she gave him like a big kiss on the lips, and he like dude just melted. Like he probably like thinking about that for weeks.
Oh my god, yeah. Who wouldn't at that point?
But also there's and Cybok. Cybok is much more interesting now than he ever was when I was a kid. He's a misguided. He's not even a villain. He's just a misguided antagonist. You actually feel sorry for him. It's like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, this is lame. The god stuff and the big head at the end, and like, but knowing what they had planned, I'm glad they went that way, because those rock monster costumes that they were going to have at the end of Star Trek V, that would have like sent it to canon level Superman 4 kind of territory.
And I understand Star Trek V is not a good movie, but in my opinion, Cybok is the best Star Trek movie antagonist. I think he's the most unique. He's the most compelling. I am a massive Cybok stan.
I love the cold open to 5 in the desert where he takes down and he's like, oh, you're a Vulcan.
Shatner should shoot like a very. I mean, I don't know if he wants to do this as he's about to turn 92 in a few weeks, which is nuts. That's a whole nother thing. But Shatner should shoot like a real like artsy type of atmospheric movie with like how that opening of Star Trek V had like those long lingering desert shots and stuff. Because there's a lot of really, really good cinematography in Star Trek V. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I agree with the common consensus that it is a bad movie. But there are moments in there where Shatner is a very strong director and does some really good filmmaking.
You know what Star Trek film that people seem to bag on now that they never seem to do before? No, not that I noticed. Is First Contact. A lot of people looking for it like, it fucking sucks. It's nothing. They ruined the Borg. They ruined the mystery of the Borg by including the Borg Queen, say. And I'm like, it's such a good 90s action sci-fi film. It's like up there with, Event Horizon, which people have issues with. Like, it's not very good, but
I liked Event Horizon. I should watch it again. I haven't seen it in a very long time. But when it came out in the late 90s, I was very taken with it.
It's a PG-13 sci-fi horror. It like in terms of just movies for a general audience, it comes across as zombies in space, and that's I think the appeal of it. But the problem with introducing the Borg Queen is that you have to retroactively say, "Oh, she was there the whole time," and it kind of ruins the mystery of the Borg. Like they're scarier when they're just a collective with no center. But then again, like, why not do the Borg Queen? Because Alice Krieg, is it Craigie or Krieg? She did a great job.
Krieg,
so.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they had that character around so you could have her in Voyager and stuff. And people think I've seen fans like kind of say they ruined the Borg with First Contact, and then Voyager didn't do it any favors. I'm like, actually, I loved the Borg stuff during and after First Contact. And First Contact is a great movie about war trauma. It's about a man who's has to come face to face with an entity that has severely traumatized him.
PTSD.
Yes. And that scene where she's like, Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship, and I wish they had never shown that in the trailer. Although I did like the part where Worf's like, if you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand.
Yeah, that was a big draw
I've got to see this
for me.
fucking movie.
If we can just talk, I do want to point out Andrew Hayes is asking, like, didn't they tease Cybok on Strange New Worlds? And
They did.
Yeah, they did. They did they showed the back of Cybok in Strange New Worlds. So I'm very excited about that he might be returning.
And I'm very interested to see how they're going to ruin him how they're going to portray him in Strange
in
New
season
Worlds.
2. I have that same concern. Hopefully they do him justice. What you were saying, PJ, about the trailers for First Contact, those of us old enough to remember 1996, because that was what, 20? This is about to be 2023.
It was
That'd
33
make
years ago.
1996.
No, wait, yeah.
27 years ago.
No, wait. 27, yeah.
We are getting fucking old, y'all.
I can't do math anymore in my head.
Well, that's part of being old, right? But 27 years ago, I remember watching the trailer for that movie. I remember anticipating that movie so fucking much. Like, I just had to see what was going to happen. But yeah, in the trailer, when they did have Worf tells Picard in the trailer, if you were any man, I would kill you where you stand. And just being like, holy fuck, why is Worf mad at Picard? I have to go see this movie when it comes out in November. And yeah,
my favorite sequence of events in terms of dialogue, not necessarily just action, the number one has to be in First Contact when it starts with when Picard gets to the bridge, Beverly's there, Worf's there, and what's
Lily?
the woman? What's her name?
Lily.
Oh yeah, Lily. I was trying to think of the actress's name, and I forget.
Woodard?
Alfre Woodard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
who's also in no, she wasn't in Event Horizon. I take that back. Sorry.
That whole scene where he's like, if you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand. They have that argument, and then they go and Beverly has that exchange with Lily where she's like, the crew is accustomed to following the captain's orders, and she's like, maybe they're accustomed to his orders making sense. And then they go in the room, and she confronts him about the whole situation to the point where she's like, Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship. And he goes, no. And that whole, like, how...
No!
That whole thing about, you broke your little ships. And then he has that speech about Moby Dick. He's like, if my heart were a cannon, I would have shot blah, 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 blah. And I fucking get emotional every time, like, it gets to that point in the movie. Like, even if I'm like, this is all familiar, I've seen it so many times before. When it gets to that moment with Worf and then Lily and Picard in the room, it's just like, it's so good.
And the way Jonathan Frakes shot everything, the way that Jerry Goldsmith composed the score, it is a
the Klingon theme is in there, right? Yeah, it's
yeah.
Like,
Dun, 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 dun. When we see Worf on the Defiant, he does the theme that he originally created for the motion picture of 17 years earlier in 79.
But also that theme is mixed in. It becomes the Borg theme then. It, like, when they're in the hallways with the phaser rifles, you hear like the Borg version of the Klingon kind of.
It echoes a lot of the V'ger music from the motion picture.
Yes, there's some of that. Yes,
so a lot of people have always kind of associated V'ger with the Borg, and the music would kind of indicate there might be some connection there. I'm gonna go check on my dog because he's probably freaking out from the fireworks. But while I'm gone, if you want to talk to Ruben for a bit, I'll be right back.
So, Ruben, how's it going? Let's see what people are saying in the chat. I can't highlight the comments, but I can read them. Let's see. Yes, it's 2023 New York. Okay, that was a while ago. Tara says, maybe it's just to start to link to TNG. Hopefully not overkill of nostalgia. Andrew Hayes, Terry's been teasing us with great score so far. Yes, apparently the score for Picard Season 3 is very good. We got a taste of the Titan A. Terry Metalis actually wanted to release the entire score for Season 3 for Christmas. And it's like, yeah, but then you'd have to name each piece, which potentially give away spoilers. I remember seeing cereal boxes with the Enterprise E on it promoting First Contact. Yeah, First Contact was great. But I also love 4. 4 is always fun. Double dumbass on you, no dipshit. I just liked when they cursed. That's it. Yep. Hey, Ruben, did you like in Picard when they brought back the punk rocker with the boombox? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, it was great. It was amazing. Wow, just really amazing.
Wasn't Picard Season 2 absolute genius?
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
I mean, it's hard to make a show that bad, so it's got to be genius.
By the way, don't worry about Laris in Season 3. She's gone pretty quick.
I'm not worried about Season 3 at all. It's very low on our watch list.
What shows will you watch? Like, are you looking forward to like Last of Us and stuff like that?
I mean, I don't really pay attention to what's coming out, but I mean, I want to watch I'll watch the first episode of Last of Us.
What about Mando? Mando 3.
No, I never watched past episode 2.
I gotta say, Andor is probably the best new thing to come out.
Oh,
The
season
second
2.
best new thing is the bear.
Season 2 of Discovery also starts with a distress call from a woman. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there.
Season 2 of Discovery. Nice. It's all a blur to me now.
What's her face from the future or whatever? The Red Devil, whatever the fuck it's called.
The Red Devil.
Whatever the fuck it was called.
You know the most frustrating thing about Season 2 is that originally they were like, yeah, I know it's Burnham's related to Spock and everything, but we're not relying on that. We're gonna stand on our own. And you know what? In retrospect, Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, if literally if you just in your mind forget about the Klingons and how they look, just that one part of it, it's not bad. It's the Lorca stuff and the Mirror Universe stuff. It's actually darker than the following seasons. It actually is the only season to have like nudity and the F word. Not that that makes it good. It's just they weren't afraid to go places in the first season. The second season is like bigger budget. It looks slicker. It actually, the CGI is much improved, all this stuff. But let's put in 1,000,000 times more light flare. Let's have every shot be so overly complicated, and the setups must have been hours. Like the crew waiting on these setups must have been like drove nuts. Let's spin the camera around and constantly move it. They've learned to keep the camera fucking still because for one thing, it saves a hell of a lot of time. And you know what? I think the COVID protocols and like just the tighter schedules and we need to do this and no time to fuck around. They said, let's not do Discovery style lens flare and camera movements up the wazoo that just, and it takes away from the storytelling. There was conversations people were having and it was like all this lights moving up and down the side of the frame. It's like, what is that? I'm trying to listen, but I can't pay attention because I'm a light sensitive person. When you're putting that shit in my face all the time and things are just too busy, I just can't do it. It's just personal defect on my part, but I don't know. But they've calmed down. Season 3 of Discovery is so well shot. It's like a completely different kind of like vibe. And then Season 4, they utilize the what's it called? The AR wall, the augmented reality wall, which works for the most part at making like extending environments. It kind of looks very TOS in some parts in Season 4 where it looks unreal, but it still looks kind of cool and retro. There's one particular planet that Burnham and Book go down to in Season 4, and it's like, wow, this totally feels like TOS, but with AR wall. But yeah. Yeah, Disco season 1 is not bad in retrospect. Like,
I never made it past halfway through season 2, so
but
I don't talk about the rest of Discovery since I never watched it.
I couldn't get my head around the Red Angel suit in season 2 because what that turned out to be was such an advanced piece of technology that it's just beyond belief, even in a sci-fi context. I mean, I know, like, within your own universal rules, it's like Burnham's mother and father built the most advanced piece of technology in the universe. A Red Angel suit that can travel anywhere in time. And granted, it needs Klingon time crystals. It needs a great power source. But it can also bring people back to life. Mind you, it can move entire pieces of land and church. It can move an entire church from, like, the past, World War III era Earth, to I don't know how many fucking light years away in a different, like, it just, at one point you're like, when they got rid of the Red Angel suit at the beginning of season 3, it was kind of like, yeah, let's forget about you. You're gone. And, like, she could have kept it. You could have had a narrative reason for Burnham to have kept the Red Angel suit in the 32nd century. You know what the problem with that would have been? You would have kept asking the question, why hasn't anybody else invented all of this shit already? 700 whatever years later, you know what I mean?
Anyway. We're talking about, I assume,
800 years, 900 years.
The comment in the live chat from Quark's Bar, the controversial take that he had, but that season 1 Disco is his favorite.
That comment already came out in the middle of PJ already talking about that.
I was saying, if you look back on Discovery, season 1 was edgy and dark, and the Lorca stuff, like, Jason Isaacs, we forget how great he was in that fucking season.
There's good stuff in there. I was very critical of the first season of Discovery, but I think there is a lot of good stuff.
And I was saying, if you in your mind, if you had a problem with the Klingons, take Discovery season 1 as it is, with its, like, faults or whatever, but just in your mind make them good Klingons, and it's like problems.
Happy fucking New Year, bitches!
Oh my God,
Happy New Year, bitches!
Are you in New York?
Happy New Year, bitches! Happy New Year,
Oh God,
bitches!
he's drunk.
Happy New Year, bitches!
He is drunk as fuck right now. He's probably in Times Square. Are you at Times Square, New York?
I'm not. No, I'm in Prospect Park in New York City, and this is my amazing assistant, and we just finished photographing a wedding, and now I'm getting drunk.
I think I saw your assistant in his underwear in a video that
you did see
earlier today.
you saw them in their underwear.
I apologize.
So yeah, thank you. What is going on here? This is so cute. All right, I gotta go, but I didn't want to not say Happy New Year to you guys because I love you. All right, bye.
Well, we love you too. Goodbye,
thanks, guys. Bye.
Well.
I can't leave. It doesn't.
Yeah, okay. He was too drunk to figure out how to close out of the stream, but yes, that was fun. Glad to see he was having a good time on New Year's Eve.
That's a good comment by PE MCU Phase 5. I know Ruben loves the MCU, watches every movie in the theater when the date comes out. Is that right?
I try to watch it the day before it comes out, actually. I break into the theater.
Kevin Feige actually, I think, screens the movies to Ruben and asks, permission. Are we allowed at the Disney Corporation? Can we release this? Is it Ruben approved? And he has to sign off on each and every Marvel project these days.
Multiverse of Madness was the last one I saw.
Black Panther and Infinity War were Phase 3.
4. No, wait, no. Black Panther and Infinity War Phase 3, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
The end of it, yeah.
Okay.
So are we at the end of Phase 4? Next year is Phase 5?
Wakanda Forever was the end of Phase 4.
Okay. I didn't know that. I thought there was going to be an Avengers movie before we ended the current phase. But what do I know?
The next 2 Avengers movies are in Phase 5. They're the closers for Phase 5, apparently. If I'm not mistaken.
If y'all see me bend over like this, it's just because I'm trying to comfort my dog. I was like, "Where the fuck are you hiding, dog?" He's under my chair. I'm sitting in a chair at my computer. Like he's so freaked out by the fireworks going on outside, he's hiding like under my chair. So like I didn't know. I was like running around like, "Where are you?" But yeah, he's right here.
So
Dick.
phase
Avengers are broken up. They must learn to be friends again to defeat giant space evil that will destroy all things. It's
yes,
just
there
my
you go.
guess. Just a total guess.
Well, Kang is the Thanos of the Phase 5 now, right?
And he's in the new Ant-Man movie, right?
No, so it's
Well,
not just the world.
if I may, can I just recap Phase 4? It started with Black Widow, which I liked, Shang-Chi, which I liked, Eternals, which I did not even finish. No, I did. It took me a couple of days because I kept watching it in segments because it is so relentlessly tiresome to watch. Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Then it was Thor Love and Thunder, which is, take that for what it is. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is the only one I haven't seen yet. And what I do now is that I wait for them to show up in Disney Plus. So
What, the movies?
yeah, I don't have the patience to go to a theater, especially a theater that doesn't display movies properly. Like for example, I went to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Did not get a ticket for a 3D showing. Did not specifically. It was just IMAX.
Right.
There was no 3D. It wasn't there. I went in thinking that, and fool I was. They give me 3D glasses. I said no. I'm going to the IMAX. No. It's all 3D. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Anyway, because
It's unavoidable.
the problem is the 3D doesn't look the way it should, because they're not. They got the bulbs turned down, and they do it just like it's. Remember I said I went to see Suicide Squad, and I'm like, the dark scenes, you couldn't even fucking see what was going on. And then when you watch it on
This
digital,
is the new Suicide Squad, the latest.
yeah, but when you watch it on digital, everything looks perfect. Like it's brilliant to look at. Clerks 3. I can imagine the other people in the theater didn't really know what was going on and thinking like, this movie looks dark. Like it looks like it's not well lit, but it's just dim. It's not lighting. It's just like it's like when your phone brightness is turned down.
Were we talking about Tron Legacy earlier? No, that was someone else I was talking to earlier today. Sorry, I'm confusing things because I'm old and
I
stupid.
did see Tron Legacy in 3D. Fucking horrible. The 3D, you could barely make it out. Like, what is this 3D?
Yeah, that sucks. I had actually a good experience watching that in 3D because I saw it at the Bob Bullock IMAX here in Austin, and it looked good on that screen.
There are a few experiences where like the picture is amazing and the 3D is amazing. Avatar 2009. There's not been 3D that has looked that good in a theater since. And I'm like, why? A Spider-Man.
You saw the new one though, the new Avatar. Didn't that look good?
No, I didn't see it in 3D.
Uh,
I saw it regular dim half-lit screen.
but because of your theater.
Let's just say that. Let's just say that.
Your local theater sucks though. If you
There was one in the next city over which actually had shitty seating but always an immaculate picture, that was the compromise, I guess. But that shut down due to during the pandemic. So
I need to acknowledge Tara. Tara, let me know if I say your name correctly. I tend to default to Tara. If I am supposed to say it Tara, if that's the way you prefer to hear it said as Tara, please let me know, and I'll go with whatever you say. But she is appreciating my dog Amos in my lap. She says doggo in the live chat. But yeah, he's very panicked. There's a lot of fireworks going on right now outside. There, people are shooting fireworks like crazy. And
he looks so scared.
he's like, why do I hear the fucking sky explode right now? Like, is this the end of the world? Am I about to die in the apocalypse? He doesn't know. He's just got a dumb dog brain. So
Riker's under desk right now, trembling.
So yeah, it's many dogs are freaked the fuck out right now across the United States. Right now it's 12:39 on the East Coast, where
Oh.
Ruben is.
What the hell? Phase 5. I'm looking at Phase 5.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 6 movies in Phase 5. Ant-Man
That's a
and
lot.
but
It sounds like a crowded phase to me.
6 movies over what, 3 years?
okay, never mind. Yeah, there were 7 in the last one.
Okay.
I thought I assumed that the new Avengers was going to be in Phase 5, and that's Phase 6. Like they're really jumping ahead.
PJ, I'm gonna have to interrupt you in a moment when we hit midnight where I am in the Central Time Zone. I'll have to acknowledge the new year, but before we get there, the next 20 minutes, if you want to explain to my live audience, if you don't mind us indulging, we're gonna talk about something other than Star Trek for a bit on the Tex-Trek channel. I know that's like strange new territory for us,
Strange new territory.
but PJ, if you would like to just explain to me and my audience what is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 5, what will that be? If you want to just take the floor right now and tell us, go ahead.
It will be hated.
Well, you want to be more specific, the actual
Okay.
like movies and shows.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with the movies. February 17th is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania,
Okay.
which is
In
filmed
like
in
6 weeks.
which is filmed entirely in green screen.
That'll be the same week as the Picard season 3 premiere.
Yeah.
So literally the day after Picard, we get a new Marvel movie. Okay.
Pickard. Jean-Luc Pickard.
That's gonna include like the regulars: Paul Rudd, is it Lily James,
Uh-huh.
Bill Murray, Michael Douglas.
Forget Bill Murray is in that.
Michael Douglas is still in it, right? He didn't die, did he? No,
He's still alive.
he's still alive.
COVID has
Pfeiffer.
not claimed him yet.
No, I mean the character, but Michelle Pfeiffer's there too.
Okay.
I like the trailer because it has like. We're gonna have to start getting past this now, but I still like some of the times they do this when they take a song and they make it all like fucking out there, like "Yellow Brick Road" by Elton John. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. They do that in the trailer, and it's really kind of like trippy and shit. I like that,
Oh.
but I don't want to see the movie. I'm gonna wait for it on Disney Plus.
You like the
Gar-
trailer, but you're not going to go see the movie because what's the point? It'll be on Disney Plus if you wait 45 days, right?
Yeah, and I don't care about spoilers either.
That's how
at
I
this
am with
point.
Avatar. It's like I can just watch like the new Avatar when it hits Disney Plus.
I'm waiting for it to hit the TBS
Yeah, you should.
world
It's-
premiere.
Yeah.
TV world premiere so I can see some commercials.
Guardians of the Galaxy is next.
Okay.
Volume
Well,
3.
I liked their Christmas special. That was neat.
It's the one where Rocket Raccoon dies. Oops. Did I say too much?
Oops,
Why do people think he's
I
gonna?
did
Well,
it
okay, don't
again.
tell me why. But
You know,
I
you
do
know, you know
people
why he
think that.
probably won't die, because they imply it in the trailer. Every time they imply a death in a trailer, it's like, I don't know. Is that the case where it's like
And-
never the case?
Comic books. No one dies. No one dies in comic books.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Oh,
May.
next
That's May
movie,
5th.
Rocket Raccoon from Universe 5473 comes out, and he's almost the same as this Rocket. He just wears a red shirt instead of a blue shirt.
I know my dog probably looks cute on camera, but I have like my hand on his chest. He's hearing the fireworks outside. His heart is beating like 1,000 beats per minute right now. Like this is the face of like sheer trauma. He
God.
is so freaked out by what's going on outside.
You should full screen it.
No,
Full screen his face.
He looks camera shy right now, but maybe I should give him one of his. I have cannabis biscuits. I have CBD dog treats. I should probably
wow.
give him one.
Yes, you should. Especially now. This is
Yeah.
like the time. I don't know if that'll calm him down, but
Fuck him up.
you need some
dog.
THC in those fuckers.
Yeah, fuck
Give him some
that dog
THC as
up.
well.
No.
I give my dog these all natural calming treats. I can give you the brand later.
What treats?
Like all natural calming treats.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're for this sort of thing.
Anxiety.
Yeah. They work like a charm.
A Scooby snack.
Okay,
That's
man.
right, Scoob. All right. Guardians of the Galaxy is May 5th.
Written by James Gunn. Those
Yes.
live action Scooby Doo's.
speaking of James Gunn, yeah, The Marvels is the last movie of 2023 in the MCU, and that's
Wait. So wait, Guardians of the Galaxy. Wait, so it
February, May 5th for Guardians,
was Ant-Man was in February, right?
Yeah.
February, and then
We
May
got
5th for
Ant-Man
Guardians,
first.
July 28th for the Marvels,
Okay.
and that's going to include,
The Marvel.
I'm pretty sure,
Samuel L. Jackson.
Ms. Marvel, right?
Yeah.
So Ms. Marvel is there, and the
Isn't
girl
it Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel from the TV show, and also the girl from the girl from the TV, the girl from
the black girl,
Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau
from WandaVision. I was gonna say Wakanda Forever. WandaVision.
Wakanda Vision.
But I know that Wakanda Forever had a character, Ironheart, that they set up. Like it's the first time a Marvel movie set up a TV character.
Yeah, she's getting a
like
TV
intentionally.
show.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's the introduction to
Ray Williams.
Yeah,
is her name. But I liked her. In fact, I liked her more in Wakanda Forever than the central character. Well, it's funny. I go into Wakanda Forever and I'm like, wow, this movie has such a great supporting cast. Any of these amazing women could have carried this movie, except for the one that they chose to focus on.
I always thought Denai Guerrero could have taken over. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this point because it's already made like its money. It didn't fail or anything. It actually, I don't think it made $1 billion. It made like 800 million maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it did well.
It did well. I think
there's gonna be a third one.
It's gonna do very well on Disney Plus simply for the reason that I think there's a large demographic now like me who used to go and see these Marvel movies first day
it's like
to avoid any kind of
45
spoilers.
Days. Yeah,
and now I'm so accustomed to it that I don't have an emotional investment in it like I used to. So I don't mind waiting.
Yeah, I think that'll be the standard on Marvel movies going forward. That they'll have huge opening weekends. You know, the diehards who do want to see it first, and then it won't have much legs after that. It might have a little bit, like, you know, the first Black Panther was a huge international success. It makes sense the sequel would have also a big performance, although not as big. It seems that it hasn't done as well. But that's fine. It did good enough. I have zero doubt in my mind there will be a third Black Panther movie. But yeah, there's not going to be as big of a, you know, like it's like number one in the box office 5 weeks later. I think that has kind of died out for big blockbuster movies for the most part, except for a few exceptions. Like, I don't know, maybe Avatar: The Way of the Water might have legs like that again.
In 2024 there are also 3. I don't know about the third one, but the next one after Marvel's is May 3rd, 2024. Captain America: New World Order, which is kind of like the movie version of Falcon and Winter Soldier, if you think about it. That's the show where Falcon becomes the new Captain America.
Right.
And it will also include, I'm assuming, characters from that show. But the one after that is Thunderbolts. And that's like David Harbour, his character from Black Widow, Wyatt Russell's character from Falcon and Winter Soldier, that fake Captain America dude from that show. It's like a team up of, it's like their Suicide Squad. It is literally the Marvel version of Suicide Squad, where you take like the anti-heroes or the quote unquote bad guys and put them in a team led by what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's the new Amanda Waller. Or
James Gunn wrote a script for Marvel, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that would have been a Thunderbolts movie, which was basically if you're familiar with Marvel and DC, there's a lot of like monkey see, monkey do. I grew up a big comic book kid. I read a ridiculous amount of comics. I love Marvel. I love DC. But just over the decades, that is the thing. Like the
I mean,
copy each other's
Deadpool is
ideas.
the ultimate example of that.
Right. Like Wade Wilson. He's based
Yeah.
on Slade Wilson.
Slade Wilson.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's a
Deadpool.
yeah,
He's based on Deadstroke. It's like, yeah, okay, like that was like the meta version of that. That being said, James Gunn did write a script for Thunderbolts, which occasionally in the comics, sometimes it depends on what they're doing. Sometimes the Thunderbolts, they're a superhero team, but they're basically like a team up of villains or anti-heroes. They're kind of like, they can be the Marvel Suicide Squad. So they do have like a concept for that at Marvel's studios. He got fired from Marvel Studios, and then he basically was like, hey, I'm gonna just do the Suicide Squad at DC, and that happened and whatnot. But yeah, so I would not be surprised if Marvel did a Thunderbolts thing, or if they were doing some using some of that material that James Gunn provided them. I don't know. Did we lose PJ? He muted himself. He might be going to the restroom or something because he figured I was on a long Marvel rant. But Tara is saying I should definitely.
No, I'm here. I just had to grab something.
Okay. Are you back? Can I leave now? Tara's saying I need to give my dog a special treat. So.
Yeah, go give your dog a treat.
Before that, she's talking about the Thunder Jacket.
Okay,
I'm has one of those.
Yeah, I should get a Thunder Jacket for this dude, but I'm gonna give him some marijuana instead. I'm gonna give him a dog approved CBD biscuit instead. So I will be right back. But you all should talk about something while I'm away.
Let's talk about life.
Let's talk about sex, dude.
Life, it ain't easy. Remember that song? Put a smile on your face. Do you remember that? I don't know if you know, but there was a song by Vitamin. I think her name is Vitamin C. Where it was like, "As we go on," that is like had Pachelbel's Canon as like the music for it in the background.
You ever seen Dracula 2000?
They played it at every graduation and every kind of ceremony where somebody was moving on from something.
You ever seen Dracula 2000? She's one of the vampire harem or whatever.
One of the worst movies ever made.
So is 7 of 9.
Yeah, Jerry Ryan's in that too. Yeah.
She's one of the vampire women too.
Do you remember it? Like around 99, you started hearing about movies and things that were like such and such 2000, this and that 2000.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Blues Brothers 2000.
Add 2000 to anything and make it cool.
Yeah, I mean they did I don't know if you were talking about Blues Brothers, but they did Blues Brothers 2000, which I feel like must have been the epitome of that.
The Dracula 2. We were talking about Dracula 2000.
Someone give me. I think
starring Johnny Lee Miller.
I got that CD for Christmas that year. I was a teenager. I was in high school when that movie came out, and someone gave me like that soundtrack to Dracula 2000 back in 2000. That movie came out in like 2001, or no, it came out in 2000. I guess it came out in the year 2000. That makes sense. But
do you think Avatar 2 is going to have legs like not only the first one, but like Top Gun Maverick? Dude, I've never seen a movie in so many years that had played in the theater for so fucking long, like months upon months. This thing was still there. It was already out on video and shit. It only I watched it again on Paramount Plus. It was on there last week.
What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun
Maverick.
Oh. Well, that used to be the norm because Titanic was in theaters forever.
Yeah,
the first Avatar was in theaters for a long time.
Oh my god, I saw Titanic like a month after it came out, and it was still like there. I went to go see it with my across the street neighbor and his mom, and we couldn't sit together. There was we couldn't find 3 seats together in the theater.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
A month after it came out,
I saw it 4 times in theaters on 4 different dates in the first 4 months. and it was always a
Yeah.
packed theater. It was crazy.
Top Gun Maverick?
that movie had
No, Titanic.
Titanic.
Oh, Titanic. Jesus.
That movie
Maverick,
had
I
the
went to
most
see-
legs out of my life. I was born in '86, so I wasn't around for like Star Wars and Jaws, but from 1986 onward, from like the year that Aliens and Platoon came out onward after that, the biggest box office event of my lifetime, unquestionably, was Titanic.
The
Titanic.
Maverick was the first mainstream movie I saw in theaters since the first Wonder Woman.
You actually, Ruben, you went to the theater
Mhm.
to see the
Yeah.
to see the State Department propaganda piece.
Yeah.
PJ
I ended
is
up-
talking
I
about.
don't care. I don't care that Tom Cruise is a
I ended up
scientist.
seeing in,
He's cool.
No. The first time, like I live.
no,
in
that's
the
the least
United
of my
States,
worries with
but,
that
like,
movie.
I hate like American exceptionalism and like the defense
Defense Department.
defense department industry that they've created to like fund all of our endless wars and stuff in America. All that being said, the first Top Gun is one of the most badass fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. And if you don't like the original Top Gun, you're just an alien too. You're from another world. Like I was born in the '80s. Fucking Top Gun is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. That's just the funnest fucking movie I can watch. Like I love it.
All I gotta say is I love the first one, and Maverick did not let me down. I had a lot of fun. It was a reminder of movies that had actually something to say without being the same thing as every other movie. It had interesting messages. It had a cool storylines with like Maverick becoming older, and kind of aging out of, you think of like athletes or whatever, that like they age out of their sport, and like this is what they've done for 30 years, and now they can't do it anymore. Like, sorry, like you can't play basketball anymore. Or you can't
know what I
fly
didn't
planes anymore.
I didn't expect for Tom Cruise's character to have a relationship with Iceman, Val Kilmer's character. I'm like, they play that out in the movie. Like it's like they do it cleverly because Val Kilmer, because of his cancer,
Health issues. Yeah,
his health issues, he can't speak, but they have an augmented thing that simulates his voice, basically, right? So in the movie, his character is sick, but he can speak a little bit, like as the character, like not as the actor. So what they do is they have him have a relationship with the character through texts, which actually works because he's essentially like he's a part of the plot, right? It has to do with the dude's son, ER dude who died, his son,
Anthony Edwards'
son, yeah, and like
Goose and Rooster.
Yeah, like Val Kilmer's character intentionally didn't tell him about the kid because he thinks Maverick wouldn't have come to teach the Top Gun class. But anyway, they do that. I'm going to spoil a bit. I'm assuming so many people have saw it. I've seen the movie.
Oh my God.
You haven't seen Maverick?
No, I'm gonna watch. It's on Paramount Plus.
It's on Paramount Plus in HDR, mind you.
If you need to spoil it, I can mute myself for a few minutes.
It's just the scene with Val Kilmer.
Okay, tell me that. I'm okay with that.
They go and have a talk, and Val Kilmer's communicating through text on a screen, and Tom Cruise reads it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, he speaks. He just says, I won't say what he says, but he has a short little speech. I guess it's really just a couple of lines.
Yeah, a couple of lines, yeah.
It's probably not even a couple of lines.
But
he speaks anyway, and it's Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's mouthing the words, but it's like it's a fake recreation of his voice that's doing the speaking. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't know that the actor himself couldn't speak.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's a really clever way to...
The fact that the two of y'all are like applauding the movie, even though it had that, gives me a lot of comfort.
But the flying sequences, dude, they're really up there. Like, they're really fucking flying. It's not, granted, for obvious reasons, even Tom Cruise isn't really flying the fighter jet. He knows how to. But in the case of the movie and how the maneuvers they had to do, It is really the actors up there with somebody else controlling the fighter. But here's the thing:
Plane.
to get just the short shots, for everything from reaction shots to actual action shots, where it's like the actor plus a thing happening in the background, all real. But to achieve that to cut together in a movie format was like thousands of hours. Like they spent an insane amount of time up there in those fucking fighter jets. I applaud the actors. I applaud the actors.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just need to acknowledge it just became 2023.
Happy New Year, Texas.
I've called to the future. I'm finally
Nashville.
in the same year as these two gentlemen. So, cheers.
Welcome to 2023.
Happy New Year, appropriate time zone, Nashville, Texas.
Yes, Happy New Year for Tex-Trek patron Joanne Robertson. It's Happy New Year for her. So. Thank you for sharing. She's in Tennessee.
Everybody caught up with the times. You're finally here with us in 2023, Father.
Yeah, well, there might be some West Coast peeps that are still. It's like 10 p.m. in California right now. I don't know if Geek Filter is still watching, but I would like to stay. I would like to continue the stream for another 2 hours. I don't know if that's possible. I know like PJ has to go to bed at some point in time, but I would like to.
I don't have anything to do tomorrow, so
okay.
I'm good.
If we can stick around for 2 hours, I would love to say Happy New Year's to the West Coast audience that's out there.
West Coast.
But we're thankful for the people that are watching live and that are hanging out with us, and the people that will watch this later. It's really cool. But sorry, PJ, did not mean to interrupt you. Just had to acknowledge the new year and the Kanar that I'm drinking, which is an incredibly dark red wine. It looks black on camera, doesn't it?
Yes, I can see your screen in the reflection of the glass.
There's so little. Okay, this is a big glass, right? I poured a huge glass, but look at how little is left in the bottle. This whole like top part of the bottle, that's all like poured into here. You know,
that's how they get you.
Yeah, there is more in my glass than in my bottle at this point. You know, this was a Christmas gift from Antonia.
And what is that? What is that from in Star Trek DS9, right?
Yeah, this is the Cardassian beverage that Damar drank a lot of, Kanar. So normally on screen it looked like it was like a dark green and like a very thick liquid. It's just a blended red wine. I'm not much of a wino at all. I don't know. I know like what Moscato is and what Merlot is and what other wine do I. That's probably it. I know like two types of wine. I'm an idiot at wine, but it's not bad. I think it's good. It tastes like red wine. So,
this is a French champagne.
Oh my goodness! Look who it is. It's Unicron himself has joined us. Orson Welles. Orson, how the hell are you? What do you think of 2023 so far?
I think of Paul Masson.
Oh,
and
okay.
You should never sell wine before it's time.
Well, Orson, I'm sure you. How many bottles of wine did you drink a day? Like 5, 8, 9?
27.
That's
why did Orson Welles sound British but he was American? Is that a thing? Is that like the transatlantic accent kind of thing?
Yeah, he probably like went to school in the era where they're like, if you want to really impress your friends, you need to talk like this in the transatlantic accent.
Yes. Don't crack wise with me, Sonny. I'll give the old one too. Mary Beth and Sarah Ann.
Wasn't that popular in Canada though? Wasn't that like I think your country was like the trailblazers of the transatlantic accent.
I don't know. You know, I want to make a plea. I won't do Orson Welles anymore. I want to make a plea to the audience. There's a show that aired on HBO from 2002 to 2008. It was not only underappreciated. HBO didn't even want to go past season 3. But David Simon convinced them, let's do another 2 more seasons of this show that barely anybody watched, didn't get any Emmy Awards recognition whatsoever. You could call it the most underrated show that's ever existed until after it ended. Then it became a cult classic. People talk about it like it's the best thing ever. It's not the best thing ever, but it's damn fucking good. It's a show called The Wire. People hear about it a lot. I heard about it for years. My 2 cousins I had watched The Wire.
still
Watch
haven't
The Wire.
watched
Watch
it.
The Wire.
I'm sorry. I know I need to. I know it's one of the
I'm in
greatest
my
TV shows, if not the greatest. I'm sure it's fantastic. I just have not had time to watch it. I would love to watch it at some point, though.
I think the issue is that people who become fans of it become so enamored with not only the realism and the world building and the characters, because it's an ensemble as hell. There is one season where the technical main character is barely in the show because they give time to so many other kind of like characters, right? But anyway, it's a show that's almost like an anthology. The first season deals with a thing. The second season deals with like dock workers. The third season deals with the political side. The fourth season deals with school kids and like what's going on there. Plus, they all incorporate like the main cast as well. Then the fifth season is about like, I guess, the city. Like it keeps getting broader and broader in its concept of Baltimore. So in fact, by the end of the series, the city of Baltimore is almost like a character. You get to know every level of law enforcement, from the criminals on the corners to the high-end criminals behind the scenes who are like got all the money and stuff, to the cops that have got the wires on them, to the police officers superiors, like the commanders and like how they work, to the politicians at City Hall, which is probably the least interesting part of it, but it's still intricate and detailed, and all the way down to like the school system. And it's just such a rich show, and and Idris Elba is Stringer Bell. Michael K. Williams as Omar, possibly the best TV antagonist to ever exist in a series. Omar, played by the late great Michael K. Williams.
That's like an early Idris Elba thing, right? That was one of the first things I heard about Idris Elba when he first started popping up in movies, like when he was in the first Thor and stuff. Everyone was saying like, "Oh my god, this dude is fantastic in The Wire, and he is great in Luther," the BBC show Luther, which I've never watched, but I'm sure is great.
Michael B. Jordan is also in the first season.
Oh wow!
Has Dominic Keating as McNulty, the main,
He would have been a young man. When did The Wire first premiere? Michael B. Jordan would have been.
Michael B. Jordan was he's 14 or something like that.
Oh wow, yeah.
Lance Hendrickson from we know from the John Wick movies now. Sonia Sohn, who played Michael Burnham's mother, is a main character in the show.
She is fantastic. I loved her casting back in Discovery season 2.
The guy who plays Littlefinger, I forget his name, but he's a main character in the
that Irish dude. Yeah, he's in one of the Batman movies. He has that like very distinct North Irish, like that Liam Neeson type accent, like that Belfast accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Boardwalk Empire is also really great. By the way, you mentioned Luther. Luther is probably one of the most brilliant detective shows you'll ever watch. If it appears on different streaming services, I don't know what's going on with the rights, but Netflix is making the movie. Idris Elba is coming out with Luther. It's some kind of subtitle. But it's the movie version of the show, and I can't wait because it is a brilliant fucking show.
With the return of Idris Elba, I'm sure they didn't recast for that, right?
No.
They got him.
He's back, and he plays DCI Luther. They have different terms over in the UK for like police and stuff, but
right. He's like a Inspector Detective Luther or whatever. I'm sure.
It is like that Sherlock show where each episode is like an hour and a half. Each episode is literally like a movie.
I love that. That's kind of a lost art, isn't it? With at least with like American television, like the idea of like doing something like a mystery, like a well, I guess there's still like a lot of procedurals and stuff on like CBS and whatever, but like those are like considered like not very good by most people's standards. They're kind of like copy paste. If you do like a good original fresh feeling, like here's a done in one story about like a specific mystery that we play fair by, and we give you clues, and there's a distinct beginning, middle, and end, and it all wraps up nicely. I think that's a bit of a dying art in American television.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm kind of remember this as a kid, but back in the day when they used to have, I don't know, Matlock, Perry Mason, what's the other guy?
Columbo.
They used to do these 2-hour TV movies all the time.
Yeah. Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, she was like Columbo's daughter or something, right? Like
Yeah,
at one point.
Yep, that's right. Yes, DCI stands for Detective Chief Inspector.
Okay, DCI. So Tara is Tara, are you in like the New York area, or are you in the UK area, or where are you? You're like telling me like, here's how it is in New York. Here is how it is in the UK. Like you're just a well-traveled or a well-learned individual, perhaps. But thank you for correcting us. We appreciate everyone in the live audience.
It was his Mrs. Columbo, and it was his ex-wife.
Okay,
yeah.
his ex-wife. So Kate Mulgrew was the ex. So when in the TV show, when he was like, "Hey, my wife, says this or whatever," like he's talking about Captain Janeway.
You never saw her in the show, though.
Yeah. He talks about her though. He mentioned his wife.
Yeah.
I don't. Did he?
I gotta get home. Gotta get home to the wife or something. I don't know.
He never said shit about kids though. Like they I don't think they had children.
I can't remember
That I know of. I didn't watch it regularly, but it's a show that's been on television a lot. So it's kind of like Seinfeld or Friends or whatever. It's just like, yeah, you just naturally see a lot of it because it's always playing somewhere.
Helen Mirren in Prime Suspect is great. Okay, Prime Suspect, is that a movie?
I assume. Ruben, do you have any thoughts on Columbo?
Not really. I never really watched it. I mean, I watched an episode here and there because, like you said, it was reruns. Been reruns forever.
Right. I didn't watch a ton of it either.
I never really.
He used to do this thing where he'd question somebody, and like it was like he was done, and he'd turn to walk away, and he'd be like, just one more thing.
Right. It was like procedural. It was like
yeah.
You know what show I've never seen? But the one with Terry. I was going to say Terry Metalis. Terry Savalas.
Hatcher. I'm like,
I mean, it's still the highest rated show in 2021 was NCIS. So NCIS. It's still procedurals.
What was the Terry Savalas?
There's a lot of old people that still watch TV.
What's the Terry Savalas?
They're not going to be around for long, though.
Kojak. Kojak is one I've always wanted to see, but they never aired
Who loves
it anywhere.
Baby?
Who loves you, baby? I always thought Terry Savalas, right? He could have played a good Lex Luthor back in the day.
I think it's
Telly Savalas, yes.
Yeah. Telly, okay,
Kojak.
Yeah, it wasn't Terry.
I was thinking the other day of who would be a good Lex Luthor for the new movie that James Gunn is writing that I'm excited about. You know who crossed my mind is Michael Fassbender. He plays a good bad guy. I think he would do a great job. I don't know if he would shave his head, but if he's willing to do that, I think he'd be an incredible Lex Luthor.
I think The Rock should play Lex Luthor. I'm not joking. He kind of looks like the broad-shouldered, big animated version from the 90s.
Yeah, I love the idea of like a really buff Lex Luthor because it's like the irony of like, okay, you're gonna like bust your ass in the weight room every day. And
you'll never be as good as Superman.
Yeah, like at any point, like Superman could just beat the shit out of you at any moment. You ain't gonna keep up with him.
You could, and that would begin the whole obsession with he needs to make some kind of suit to fight Superman. I could see that.
But, you know who Kevin Smith, who famously at one point wrote a Superman script, Superman Lives. There's a documentary about it. People just look that up. It's really cool.
The mechanical spider or whatever.
It's called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened.
Yeah, and listen to Kevin Smith talk about it at like that Comic-Con panel or whatever, where he described his chronicles with John Peters, the insane Hollywood producer that he was working for when he wrote that script. But one thing that I heard him talk about on a Fat Man on Batman, or Batman or Fat Man Beyond is what they call it now. I know PJ, you listen to their podcast with Kevin Smith and his buddy Mark Bernardin. But one thing that he said a
Mark
few years
Bernardin, yeah.
ago, Kevin Smith suggested, I know he can't do it now because of his, tragic health circumstances, but Bruce Willis as Lex Luthor, saying like, what if he's like this blue collar guy who like worked his way up to the top with his smarts? And Kevin Smith was even saying, I worked with him on that movie Cop Out, and famously like did not get along with him. He's a total asshole. He's a prick. I don't like the guy at all, but he would do good at this job. And I thought, okay, that's Kevin Smith. I like that. Like, you didn't like this actor that y'all clashed on this project, but you're still willing to like recommend him for a job. I thought that's classy of Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah, Kevin Smith gets a lot of abuse online because of that He-Man stuff.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's just like it gets so tiresome.
He seems like such a nice dude.
It's like, and he's sensitive to that too. That's the thing. He was the week before last, or maybe it was last week. He was on a live stream. Somebody wished death upon him because of He-Man.
Don't do that, y'all.
And I have to wonder what this man turned out. Kevin Smith's like, I want to find out who you are. He got really pissed off. He found out he was like a 40-year-old dude with kids. But anyway, he didn't go after him or anything. He didn't dox him or anything like that. But I don't know how he found that out. But he got really upset.
Don't wish death upon people. I know, like, I'm guilty of like talking a lot of shit about like creatives I don't like Michael Bay or Zack Snyder or people like that. But like I've never like wished death upon anyone, and people probably shouldn't. A lot of these people, they're just trying to make like the best movies that they can make, and you might hate it, but don't wish death upon them. That's very mean.
But just think about the individual behind the keyboard,
yeah,
who is so upset about He-Man. Now listen, I watched He-Man when I was a little kid. I loved it. I tried to rewatch the old, so I was like, it's not for me. You know what? I checked out Kevin Smith's thing. And some fans had a legitimate gripe about the fact that He-Man, the main character, was sidelined for a good part of half of the season. Not the whole season. Half. And even then, he was in it in flashbacks in like every episode. That's a legitimate gripe, but to go so far as to like, well, how many, like a year and a half later, almost 2 years, I don't know how long it's been since that first season, but like even now, He-Man, you fucked it up, and blah, 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 blah. And then on top of that, you can't get a response out of him. So what do? You say, you should have died when you had that heart attack. Then it hurts his feeling because he looks at the chat. Like there's a couple times I've been on there and he's like, Botrek says this, and I'm like, he looks at the chat all the fucking time. Like, he reads it out loud.
Like I should be doing. I should be reading the comments we're getting. But go ahead, BJ.
I'll let you get to the comment. I just want to say I just feel so bad because it was live and he's like, listen, man, I just gotta stop. And he couldn't shake it, and other people some insensitive people in the chat were like, fucking grow up, grow a set, like grow up, you baby. You're always crying. Like they always bitch at him because he's emotional and he cries over like things that he likes.
Yeah, he sees
I'm like that's a beautiful thing. Why are you fucking shitting on somebody because they love something? That's so stupid.
Like when he saw like the trailers for like the new Star Wars movies, and he like cried and stuff while he's watching. It's like that's I love that he loves that.
Somebody gets angry at that and like piece of fucking shit. I'm like, what? Fucking cry, you sellout. The biggest criticism of Kevin Smith that drives. I'll get to it. I'll stop in a second. But the biggest criticism that drives me crazy is you're a sellout. You're a sellout. You're a sellout. And I see that so much. I'm like, isn't he the opposite of that? Doesn't he fucking fund his own shit and then literally for weeks goes on tour with the film to get at least his fucking money back?
Right.
makes a bit of money off it. You know what I mean?
Because
Like
he doesn't have the Harvey Weinstein backing anymore, and he came out against Harvey Weinstein quick. Like, he wasn't one of those. There were some dudes who like tried to defend him and shit. Like Kevin Smith was like, nope. Like, this guy rapes women. I'm done with him. I'm not doing movies with him anymore. I'm doing my own thing. And I applaud Kevin Smith for a lot. I saw him I
he's a
didn't talk
fucking
to him.
he's a teddy bear, dude. And I don't
Yeah.
know why there's this weird sect of the internet that has such like Amy Schumer level hostility toward him. And that's another
saw
thing too. I
him-
don't understand this Amy Schumer stuff. But anyway, that's
I don't
another
know
thing
about
altogether.
that. I have to ask you about that in a second. But when he was touring around with, I think it was Clerks 2.
Yeah.
When he was
No, it was Jay and Silent
no.
Bob.
Yeah, you're right. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. When he was touring around with that, like he came here to Austin to the Paramount Theater, and I saw him there. I didn't get to speak to him. It was weird. I like went into that movie and I was like looking around. I'm like, man, like I feel like every fat dude with a beard and long hair and a backwards cap in Austin, like we all like showed up at the same time to go see a Kevin Smith movie. Imagine that. But he did like a little presentation on stage, before and after with Jason Mewes, and he seemed like a very just friendly dude. He's excited. He was like, hey, here's my new movie, I'm gonna show it to y'all. So it was just cool to like have that experience of like, oh, it's like, here's the filmmaker and here's his movie, and it just it felt very intimate and cozy, and I loved that. And he has always seemed like a great representative of like nerd culture and the wider pop cultural landscape. He's always represented things like Star Wars and comic books and stuff like that well. And yeah, he just seems like a very, very genuinely nice dude. And no one should be mean to. I guess you should never be mean to anyone online, but especially like don't be mean to like a big sweetheart like Kevin Smith. That's just cruel and weird, right? And
Kevin
Joel
Smith,
is here in our
Kevin
live audience.
Smith's talks are better than most of his movies. He's a good talker too. Like, if you ever see him in an interview, like when he goes on Colbert, there's a running joke where Colbert just sits there and doesn't say a word, and just Kevin just does the whole 8 minutes by himself. It's like, you ever see him in an interview, he just takes over.
Yeah, that's Joel. You've been a loyal member of the Tex-Trek audience for a long time. Let me know if you would like to join in the stream. I can send you a link, and Tara as well. Like Tara, you get an open invitation, and Stress Free K. Who else is like one of our regulars? If anyone wants to hop on the stream, DM me and hopefully comment in the chat and let me know that you DM'd me, and then I'll go look for it. But I would love to invite anyone on board for our New Year's Eve celebration.
If you look at Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, that was one of the first films that directly dealt with trolls, internet trolls. Not many films addressed that subject before that movie. It was one of the first that I ever saw that where like they literally go to the trolls' houses. They somehow find out their addresses and whatever. And it's like,
yeah. That movie was 21 years ago. I think it came out in 2001. We had like the what was his name? The Because I Got High guy.
Afro Man.
Afro Man. He did make a music video about it and shit. Colt 45 and 2 zigzags, baby. That's all I need. But anyways, for those of y'all that like weren't in high school while Enterprise was on the air. But yeah, they did that funny bit in that movie where they go to people's houses who are like, you talk shit about Jay and Silent Bob on the internet and we're gonna beat you up now. I was like, man, how prophetic was that about the toxic internet culture? That was definitely they were ahead of the curve on that shit.
Did you see Geek Filter's comment about Disney's Earthstar Voyager had Borg about a year before, including the eyepiece and everything? We're pretty sure that was an influence, because we were talking about the Michael Jackson Captain EO Borg
Captain
stuff.
EO.
And yeah, I gotta look it up.
I didn't know about that from Aaron, aka
Earthstar
Geek
Voyager.
Filter. I have watched like that clip on YouTube of like the Captain EO thing of like it's highly produced. You know, they have like Jim Henson Muppets and stuff like interacting with Michael Jackson. It's weird
Oh yeah,
watching it
well, Captain
in
EO was huge.
yeah
It was a
Captain
huge
EO.
deal. It was a big ass deal for a long time.
You're Ruben. You are in Florida with the home of like Orlando Studios and Disney World and that shit. So you probably have your ear to the ground more on that type of stuff. The like those live action attractions, the theme parks.
I mean, I know a lot of people go to those things all the time. I'm not a huge fan of theme parks or Disney, but yeah, Captain EO during the '80s was massive until the early '90s when all the child stuff started coming out about Michael Jackson, and then Disney was like,
And I apologize. My ADHD kind of makes it hard for me to keep up with the chat at the same time as I'm doing live streams. But I see Quarks Bar, aka Jude, in the audience, and just want to give him a shout out and say Happy New Year. What time zone are you in? I know you're up in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. But is it New Year's already for you? And have a happy New Year's, and let me know. Comment if you want to hop on the stream with us. You're also invited, of course. We want to celebrate with as many of our friends as possible. If anyone else wants to join in on the fun, you are invited.
I think Aaron is behind on the video. It seems to be commenting on things we've talked about hours ago. When he says, please don't spoil anything, was that when we were talking about Picard, remember? We were talking about Captain EO and then Picard.
Oh, yeah, you might have like jumped in and jumped out or something. Because now he says, okay, bye, I'm not listening.
He's definitely at the Picard part, yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully he comes back on later and it figures out like, oh, they actually didn't talk about it.
I did only spoil the first part. I know more that I could have spoiled. Let's do it now. Let's spoil more.
Oh, no, we appreciate you not spoiling.
PJ's dying to spoil it.
He's like, fuck this guy.
He's dying to fucking spoil it.
Yeah, so like Tara is in the live chat. She's like, good night. Like she doesn't want to hear spoilers either. No, we're not gonna spoil anything.
No, Jesus. No, we were talking about the clip that was released, and Tara asked, like, who is that from? And I just said who it was from.
Rest assured, I don't know anything, so I can't spoil anything.
Ruben, you know everything, right? Like I'm very confident that they have to go to you for approval for anything on any of these shows.
They definitely do not. Because there wouldn't be much Star Trek on TV.
That's not when I talked to Alex Kurtzman a couple of days ago. He told me, he's like, yeah, I don't do anything until Ruben tells me it's okay. So
I'd be like, you're gonna have a 5th season with a woman's distress call starting off the entire show. Really, guys, you can't think of another way to start off a season?
Joel in our live audience says, I accidentally was behind on a chat once. I screwed up on my phone. Desktop is easier. Yeah, you can you can get out of sync with reality on occasion. That happens. And then Quark Spar says, good call, Father. I'm outside Toronto. I'd actually considered jumping on if my voice was working with COVID. Oh, I forgot that you had mentioned, I think, in the Tex-Trek Discord. By the way, folks, if you check the description on this video, there's a link to the Tex-Trek Discord if anyone wants to join. But yeah, Quarkspar had mentioned to me, I think there that he had
I think
caught the virus.
I think Aaron didn't know he was behind, and he could have just skipped over unless. Because I did that last Kevin Smith chat. I was like, commenting and stuff, and I was noticing like comments weren't jiving with what was going on. And
Can I ask you a question?
Oh,
PJ?
I was way behind, and then I was like, oh.
When Kevin Smith mentions you, how does he pronounce boat wreck? Does he say boa trek or what? How does he say it?
The last time he said it was, I said Avatar 3 was shot. And then he said, well, I don't know if Boat Trek has actually worked on the movie or not, but he says that this, and then somebody else said something else, and then he said, and this person saying that. So he said Trek, boat Trek, like that.
Okay. Maybe Kevin Smith is watching us now. So if you're out there, Kevin, hi.
Why wouldn't he be?
Hope you're having a good New Year's. Hope Harley is doing well. And what's his wife's name? Mrs. Kevin Smith. I hope she's fine. And your mother-in-law that he talks about his family all the time. I'm not like a creep who's stalking him. He talks about these people. So
His wife's name is Jennifer Schwabach.
Jennifer. I hope she's having a fun New Year's.
I think that's her last name. I don't know. Ruben, I can guess your most anticipated movie of 2023. Let's see.
I don't even know what the fuck's coming out.
It's something about a dial of destiny turning back. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I would take back all the words.
Please, I need 6 more Indiana Jones movies.
That will hurt you, and you'd say, if I could read those doors. Yeah, that should be the theme song of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
If I could turn back
You know what's crazy?
time.
Harrison Ford can actually ride a horse pretty well.
You wouldn't believe the things I've seen. If I could find a way.
He rides a horse in 1923, you know. And then in the Indiana Jones movie, they're like, we're not taking any chances. Let's CGI his face on that fucking stunt guy.
I have not
like
watched
2 centimeters to the right.
Ruben, you might appreciate this, just knowing your stances on things. But I have not watched the trailer for the new Indiana Jones movie. It's I don't know. I love the first Indiana Jones movie. I like the third one. I'm not really into the rest of it, so I'm kind of disinterested in this new one that they're doing. But yeah, I hope that the people looking forward to it. I hope it's a great movie. I hope people do love it. Hope it's a great film. But I doubt I'll ever see it.
Yeah, I doubt I'll ever see it either.
I never watched all of the fourth one. I've seen like the first like 20-30 minutes of the first one. So like the nuke the fridge bit in the fourth one, I should say, the Crystal Skull one.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like I've never seen that one.
I saw that one in theater, and my favorite thing was the kid behind me, who was like 10 years old, asking questions.
I've heard good things about the trailer though for the new one. So
I don't know, you can hear those from me, that's for sure. Yeah, I watched the trailer already. I mean, I think PJ sent it.
Anson Williams, who's that? I gotta look that up.
I don't know.
I think he's talking about 1923.
But PJ, you agree with the general consensus that the trailer for the fourth one indicates, or no, the fifth one, Dial of Destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
The trailer indicates a better film for this fifth outing for Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big movie that's nobody's gonna like.
And a different director. This is the first one that won't be directed by Spielberg.
Yeah, he didn't do the last one any favors.
This is James Mangold, who did the Wolverine.
I guess not
Logan.
not directly produced by Lucas either.
James Mangold, Jerry Gold.
Oh. Or Jerry Gold, is that his name?
No, I was doing a Seinfeld thing.
Okay. Lucas had any involvement? Did he sat in on a meeting at Disney, maybe? Like that's all he did on the new Willow, apparently.
Well, I wanted to make a new Indiana Jones, and my idea was originally to have zombies and space aliens fight each other in a virtual reality world. And the studio said, "Go back to bed, you crazy man." And I said, "Okay, I'll go sleep with my billions of dollars. That makes me happy. Keeps me warm at night. Money equals happiness."
George Lucas was worth $4 billion before Disney paid him $4 billion for Star Wars. And yeah, I'll talk a lot of shit about George Lucas as like a storyteller and as a creative. I'm not a fan of the prequels and stuff, but I guess if you're a billionaire, it's a kind of a cool thing if you're getting paid $4 billion by Disney and you just give all that money away. My understanding is that like he gave all that money away to charity and stuff. So I wish more billionaires would be that generous, like the Elon Musks and the Bill Gateses and everyone else in the world.
Wow, Debbie Downer over here.
Sorry.
Bringing the Musk into the conversation.
Yeah, maybe the guy doesn't know what he's doing, like buying Twitter and stuff. Maybe he's
Have
maybe
you
he's
ever
just
seen
a moron.
You saw Glass Onion, didn't you?
Yeah, if you want to criticize Elon Musk, go watch Glass Onion. It is a great movie. It's a good movie in general, but it's a great movie for that.
Stress Free K says, I meant Anson Mount from Hell on Wheels, where he plays Colin Bohannon.
Oh yeah.
Quarks Bar says, my poor old dad loves the new Willow show more than anyone should. I bailed on it, dude.
Is it not good? I've heard very little about it, so I don't know the details.
I watched the movie for the first time. I had no idea what the movie was even about.
It's like young Val Kilmer is the main thing I remember.
The movie is just fucking medieval fantasy Star Wars.
It really is a fun Star Warsy influence kind of medieval vibe to it.
Yeah,
it's got cool stop motion. It's got creature effects. It's an element of fun there. And here's
I recall it being a bit generic, but fun. Yeah, generic but fun.
It had the first what was then like the beginning of morphing in a movie, which is basically fading between two things, but having the computer kind of like distort the image so it blended in the morph, which looks crappy now, but was really revolutionary for the time.
Yeah, it was a big effect at the time, I remember.
But then I saw the show, and I liked it enough to keep watching it. Warwick Davis is different. He was really good in a show called Life is Short.
Life is Short is awesome.
Is an amazing show, and he was excellent. He's clearly a good actor. But here in this new show, it's like, I don't know what's going on, but he's not that good. And he's kind of like not that important to character. And you're kind of wondering, what's the point? And by the third episode, I was like, I think I like certain elements of it, but I think I'm done. I might binge the rest of it if I hear it's any good, but...
Ain't nobody talking about that shit.
Are those fireworks I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting loud in Florida. Those are the Texas fireworks have apparently stopped. Like everyone I guess they're too poor to afford enough fireworks to go all night, so they've already spent all of them, but I will be right back. I need to go grab something, but I won't be away for long.
So here's what happens in episode 5 of Star Trek Picard. It's a special one, and okay, I won't. I was on a stream. A very bad stream the other night that the video's been made private for a number of reasons.
Wait! We don't talk about that here on Tex-Trek.
Okay, let's not do it. Let's not do that.
You can say like the broad thing on it, but like I don't know. Should we?
All I'll say is that I was on a stream where the host was having a beef with some other YouTuber.
He was having a bad day.
He was having a bad day.
Let's be as generous as possible. He was having a bad day.
And anyway, it was the first time I got on this show. And that's when this person who has seen Picard, you can probably guess, this person who has seen Picard season 3 a couple of times, went into stark detail about episode 1, which, by the way, I know Aaron probably got mad at me because I said the distress call was from Beverly or whatever. This is really only in the first part of it, as far as I know. Like, it's very early.
I mean, you can tell that from the trailer.
I could tell you what happened. I could tell you what happens with Riker. I could tell you what happens with other characters. I don't even want to say. See, but I could tell you. But that be me being an asshole who didn't want to hear it in the first place, but kind of went along with it. And even when he was me and this other guy Brian he was spoiling it, and I was like, maybe your audience don't want to hear that. But then he was like, he was really drunk too. But anyway, it got out of hand, and I was like, when I got off the stream, he kept going for like a few more hours, really, really drunk. And normally I don't mind this guy, but I was like, oh man, you're seeing the dark side of a dude. And he made the stream private, and people on Twitter were like, why'd you make it private? Because he was basically fucking getting really angry at a guy and saying things he should not be saying that could get him in trouble. And I've never seen this person like that. It's like, it's just one of those things where you're like, oh, Jesus, dude. And people in the chat were like, dude, stop. Stop. Like, stop.
Yeah, that's.
And I feel guilty. I feel guilty for even sticking around and going on there. Not that I dislike him now or anything.
No, it's not your fault, but like if anyone's joining us now, we're not. It's funny. We like didn't talk about Picard spoilers, and then we just brought it up now, and we're just saying like, oh yeah, here's the thing that like we haven't been talking about. So it's not. We're not spoiling anything. We're not going to give anything away here. We don't do that on Tex-Trek. Y'all are safe here. This is what do you call it? A safe. This is a safe space for spoilers.
We were technically elaborating on the clip that was shown to the public.
Yeah. Okay.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, we know about that scene. We know that Picard gets a distress call. We know some stuff from the trailers, so it's okay. We're all good here.
All anybody needs to know is that it seems like it's really good. It seems like it's at least interesting. Yeah, I know Ruben will hate it. That's for sure. No, I'm joking.
I think Ruben is. I think Ruben accepted at some point in his life, well before now, before January 1st, 2023. I think Ruben came to terms with the fact that he's a picky bastard.
Can I ask?
So I don't think he's going to be too heartbroken if he dislikes a new season of Star Trek.
Can I ask?
Oh, I'm not watching Picard season 3.
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
I'm pretty much done for a few years on Trek for
now. Can I ask you what were some of the highlights in TV or movies from 2022?
Oh, I was asked. Yeah. PJ, why don't you tell me your highlights? Because
I wanted to hear Ruben's first.
Some questions.
Come on, Ruben. You can fish some good shows or TV movies out of your brain that you liked. Come on.
I don't know why you guys act like I don't like things. I just don't like shitty Star Trek.
I know.
I know you guys have all your hopes, your hopium and shit. I just don't. I don't get high on hopium.
Ruben, to me, you represent a demographic of people who don't take the mediocre or less than great. Someone like me can like coast through something that I think is okay, but I think like I have the mindset of like I think if you watched Andor, I would be surprised at you. I think if you gave that show a chance and didn't like it, if you came back and said no, I'd be like, but Ruben, I know you're a smart dude. You're very you're a writer. You got the writer's mind. You know what good writing and bad writing is. You know, Lord of the Rings didn't work. Rings of Power.
No, Rings of Power was atrocious.
A lot of people like that though. Like, I heard a lot of good stuff about that show.
And, you're hearing that from liars.
I think House of Dragon was great, and I don't think it was boring. I think a lot of shows are talking away, but at least with this, you get the highlights, like you get the big moments highlighted. And I like the game of kind of like trying to figure out what happened between each episode because literal years pass. You know what I mean?
Sure.
House of Dragon, I stopped watching just because I wasn't interested.
I like House of the Dragon.
Is terrible.
I want to see a Game of Thrones sequel series with the.
They're doing one. George R.R. Martin talked about that, right? Like he said, like the Jon Snow actor Kit Harington
recently
had
canceled some of those shows. Some
Oh
show.
yeah, we got David
Something.
Zaslav in charge now. So they
Yeah.
gotta get his approval for anything going forward. I would assume.
I think I saw recently Martin said something about one of their shows getting canceled or postponed or something. Yeah.
Did
But
anyone see
I like House of the
Pinocchio?
Dragon.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio?
No, but I heard it was like PJ.
Yeah.
I did not know much about that movie, or other than like Guillermo del Toro did a Pinocchio movie, and I didn't know anything about it. And then like a week or so ago, I saw like the trailer for it for the first time. I was watching some Christmas movie on Netflix, and at the end of the movie, they played a trailer for Pinocchio. Sorry, sorry, and.
It's okay.
But I didn't know it was stop motion until that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it looks really neat!" And I really want to watch the movie now, just separate from all like the great hype and like it like won like awards and stuff, and everyone loved it. But like just like the way that the trailer looked, it's like, oh, that looks neat. So I'm very curious. I should sit down and watch the movie soon.
It is my number one film of 2022. I think it deserves to be nominated for Best Picture Proper, not just animated. The reason it's so good, and go into it not knowing much, because I didn't. And here's the thing. It was Guillermo del Toro loves the 1940 animated Pinocchio. It's an actual it's an animated masterpiece. For its time, it was like a cut above in terms of just technical animation prowess. They used like, it's like they had the 3D kind of background, like the camera panned across like buildings in a 3D kind of. They filmed different plates of backgrounds, so there was a 3D kind of like feel to it.
A trailblazer.
Like the animation, the hand-drawn animation with Pinocchio was like beautiful, and the fact that he's in a cage and like he's in a moving wagon. There's one shot where it's like he's in a moving wagon. There's lightning and thunder. There's all kinds of visual things happening, and I'm like, how the fuck did they accomplish that all the way back then? That must have been mind-blowing. And then you have the 2022 live action remake. Let's talk about that for a second.
I've never seen it. I know Tom Hanks plays what's the maker of Pinocchio? Geppetto. Who is Jiminy Cricket? Who did they get for Jiminy Cricket in that movie? They should have got like Little John. They should have got someone just like way out, way out of left field.
For the Disney version, I can't remember.
I know
Ewan McGregor did the voice, and he's not Jiminy Cricket. He's another name in the Guillermo del Toro version. But the problem with that movie is that, like 10 minutes into it, they're making 1,000 Disney references. Like all the cuckoo clocks in Geppetto's workshop are references to other Disney cartoons. And it's just like, it's product on the screen so early on in the movie that you're like, you're really suspicious. Then you're like, okay. Then the CG, which is not bad at first, gets progressively worse to the point where when they get to the whale stuff at the end, it looks so bad, it looks actually unfinished. It looks like one of those like deleted scenes you see where like the CG or the VFX aren't done.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like on the DVD when they were like, here's the deleted scene, and the CGI is not going to be complete, but here's kind of like the idea of what we were going for.
And then the ending completely sucks, and Tom Hanks is wasted. It's a terrible movie. Then the Guillermo del Toro movie is dark, frank. It deals with death, war, like love, loss, fucking. It just deals with so much, and it has a very interesting ending, and it goes in directions you don't if you know the story of Pinocchio. It's set in World War I and then World War II, fascist Italy, and you have like fascist training camps for youths incorporated into the film's narrative, and you're having like dealing with very serious subject matter. But the animation, the sets, the cinematography, the look of it, the detail is just like mind-blowing. You cannot believe this is done by hand. And then you watch the behind the scenes, like of how they made it. There's a special on Netflix that shows you.
Oh wow.
Like the work that fucking goes into this
So
stuff.
they did the Disney Plus thing, because the Disney Plus for like their big like Marvel shows and Star Wars shows. They always have like a behind the scenes type of feature video. But you're saying Netflix did that as well with their Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is that? Oh, that's Ruben. I was like, I thought it was popcorn popping.
Ruben is vigorously typing. I'm sure he's kicking ass in a video game he's playing at the moment off of Steam.
You're
But
correct.
sorry, I don't know why I needed to cough when I suddenly tried to speak, but that's cool. I like Ruben. Tell us what game you're playing. How about that? What game are you involved with at the moment?
I'm currently playing New World from Amazon.
New
Yeah,
World.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Is it anything like the old world?
Takes place in the sort of involves the old world. New World's an MMO from Amazon where it takes place in the 17th century on an island with magic and mystery. The island of Eternum, where people have been coming for thousands of years, including the Egyptians and Romans, and so there's all sorts of real history interwoven into this weird magical fantasy.
You play Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Every Saturday, except today.
So, do you think this movie with Chris Pine is gonna flop? Because I'm probably 1,000% sure that it will.
I don't think it'll make a lot of money. I don't know if it'll flop, but I don't think it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Paramount is in an interesting position right now because they had a really big hit with Top Gun Maverick. So I'm kind of curious like what they're going to do is like their next big blockbuster. Are they going to try to do like a fourth Kelvin Star Trek movie or
Paramount's biggest hit this year was actually Smile, as far as budget to profit
ratio?
And that's what they need to do is make small movies that hit big, because Mavericks cost a lot of money, and if that shit fails, you just spent a lot of money for a bad movie. Because they're lucky Maverick hit, because it's really strange that movie was so big, as big as it was.
Their next big guaranteed hit, I guess, this year is fucking Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
But they need that and another Smile. You know, they need to keep hitting on small movies like that.
Oh, and they also did they released A Quiet Place Parts 1 and 2, and those are both very profitable.
Yeah, horror movies and Tom Cruise are their bread and butter right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe their new Transformers, their Beast Wars movie, the Rise of the Beast. I don't know if that will be big enough.
Transformers, Rise of the Beasts.
That's an incredible Peter Cullen impersonation. I don't know if it will be big enough to, I guess, like bring audiences back. They got burnt out by the 5 Michael Bay movies that they did that weren't very good. But I would love if they did like a really good Beast Wars movie, and if it was like a big hit. As a Transformers fan, that would make me happy if it was good and it's successful.
Autobots, roll out.
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
See, at Paramount, y'all can just hire PJ. If Peter Cullen gets too expensive, y'all can hire PJ to do the voice of Optimus Prime.
My favorite line in I don't know why, it's just a stupid line, but it accompanies like the funniest scene in the movie where Sam is running with the cube, and Optimus Prime is like,
Sam, get to the cube.
It's like, and he's like running with the cube. And he's got the derp face, like doo-doo! He's trying not to get killed by all these giant robots, which he should have been like killed 10 times over. By the way, I must point out that Shia LaBeouf possibly suffered head injury on the set of Revenge of the Fallen, in which apparently him and Megan Fox were put in somewhat dangerous situations with some of those explosions. And at one point, LaBeouf went flying and really like hit his head. So I was thinking like maybe that accounts for some of his like kind of wacky behavior. John Barenthal, Punisher dude, he was recently talking about how his but he says he likes him, but at first when he worked on a movie with him and Brad Pitt, that war movie, I forget the name of it.
Fury.
It's really Fury. That
Oh, yeah.
LaBeouf pulled one of his teeth out because he thought his character shouldn't have this tooth where it was, or whatever, which I don't even think shows up in the film. And then he didn't shower for apparently months.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I wouldn't want to work with someone like that.
And he was
Sorry.
he was the kind of dude who wore like his craft on his sleeve, like kind of want everybody to see this is what I'm doing for my art. And Barenthal then got into talking about but he was a child actor and like the things he went through and the kind of like path he took made him this like outrageous kind of. And he said, once you really get to know him, it's a different thing, right? But he is on the set, people didn't know how to take him, type of thing.
He's really nothing new. I mean, in the sense that most people who were superstars by the time they were 10 years old or whatever he was, with even Stevens,
Mm-hmm.
it's what I mean. Like your sense of reality, your perception of reality is completely different from anyone else. In every way, because you've lived in like this strange insulated universe.
Do you remember that?
The fucking star,
Yeah, like one of those Transformer movies. He like got drunk and crashed his car and like broke his arm, and then like in half of the movie he has like a cast on his arm because of his real life shenanigans.
Do you remember that time he set up a room where he had a bag on his head? It was really him. People were like doubting if it was really him or not. But it was really him. Set up a room in a place, in a building off a street. People lined up for the whole day, and they went in and they sat with him and just said things to him or whatever. You can find these videos, like that where he's like, "I'm not an actor." So he had a bag on his head, and he's like, "I'm not an actor," maybe or something.
I've heard,
some kind of message.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
And that kind of like. Some people are like that with the art. They're like they do crazy, outrageous things that a normal person would be like, "Why bother and why go through the trouble?" But it's almost like some people are addicted to kind of suffering for their art. You know what I mean?
When I worked in theater, there were actors where, like up to about let's say an hour before the show, they were just themselves, and then all of a sudden they would just like, don't talk to them for an hour. They need to now become. There was another some actors I used to work with who, like, if you moved anything on the set, even the smallest prop, that has nothing to do with their scene or anything.
The method acting.
These guys were more like sensory actors. Like they needed to memorize the sort of environment, to be in it. Others were what you're saying, method actors. There's all sorts of craziness, man. I mean,
we know like Robert.
It's a job where you have to turn into someone else on command.
Robert Pattinson, Batman. Now we can call him the current Batman. I'm sure they're going to shoot a sequel soon.
I'm still halfway through the movie. It's
successful.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's like 1,000 hours long. But he talked about like method acting. Like I saw an interview with him. I think he was talking about like Jared Leto's insane like method acting demands, and Robert Pattinson said something like, it's funny, like people are only insisting on that when they want to be assholes, like Jared Leto when they were shooting the Morpheus movie. He as a character,
he had to drink somebody's blood.
Well, no, like he walked on crutches, so like whenever he needed to go to the bathroom, they had to not just like stop shooting, but he had like grab his crutches and take like 20 minutes to like walk down the hall from the sound stage to the restroom, use the restroom, and then like walk back on crutches. He would like make everyone like wait for like that whole process. And it's like, okay, that's kind of a dick move. I'm sure you're a talented artist at your craft, but when you're making everyone do that, you're kind of an asshole. I'm sorry.
I got to applaud Jim Carrey, who, by the way, has been known for not being the easiest person to work with.
Mhm.
Tommy Lee Jones fucking hated him on Batman Forever.
Oh my
Dude,
goodness, he did.
but
Yeah.
but
But he's
get,
another one who does a lot of that method acting where he stays in character for what's
Ruben,
that character?
you guys know this wrestler. He was in Man on the Moon. Jerry Lawler, isn't it? Jerry Lawler.
Oh yeah, Jerry the King Lawler.
There's a documentary about Jim Carrey and the making of Man on the Moon, the movie about where he plays Andy Kaufman, where he got
Right.
so method
That's the one I
that he
was thinking of,
became
yeah.
like a prick, like Andy Kaufman was. Like Andy Kaufman was a difficult person. Like if you know anything about his life, like he was people say he's genius, whatever the fuck, but like he messed with people and he was like one of these people who was relatively normal, really behind the scenes, just like Jim Carrey is.
He
But some of
reminded
these
me a little bit of Sacha Baron Cohen in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Like that
But Jim
same
Carrey's
kind
one
of-
of these dudes who gets so fucking. He at one point he got so method. This was the time he really got method. He really adopted. He wanted to be Andy, and he does an impression of Andy. I don't feel he becomes Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman's like, you gotta have. I don't know. You gotta find someone special to play that part. And Jim Carrey was as close as they could get at the time. And Man on the Moon is not a bad movie. I love the when he switches over to the other character, Tony Clifton. That stuff is hell. To this day, I can watch that movie and laugh my ass off at all the Tony Clifton stuff. And Paul Giamatti's in it too. And good movie, but the documentary about the making of that movie, and Jim Carrey's in it being interviewed, very frank about what a complete fucking prick he was, especially to Jerry Lawler. You feel really bad for Jerry Lawler at the end. Because in the scene where he slaps Jim Carrey, which is a recreation of the time Jerry Lawler slapped Andy Kaufman on the David Letterman show, the anger was real, just like it was back in the day. So it's a weird kind of dynamic. Like Jim Carrey brought out the worst in him, just like the real Andy Kaufman did. You know,
The Tommy Lee Jones thing is funny to me because I grew up around the part of Texas that Tommy Lee Jones is from, and he always seemed like a cool dude to me and like behind the scenes interviews and stuff. But people I've talked to, they've like met him in person. Like I hate like throwing shade on folks that I've never met, but just like the word on the street around here is that he's an asshole. If you talk to him in real life, he's a dick.
and get the fuck away from me. Like,
Yeah, maybe he's just like standoff. You know, he's one of those actors who's just kind of like standoffish, which I get. You know, I've never been a big enough public figure that was like a relevant aspect of my existence. So I don't want to like blame him, but this is like what I've heard is that he's kind of a jerk.
I've heard that his grouchy character in the Men in Black movies. You know, there's one scene in particular in the second Men in Black movie where Will Smith's like, "That's why your wife left you," and Tommy Lee Jones just casually just punches him in the face. And like his character in Men in Black, they say is like the most like Tommy Lee Jones himself. He probably enjoyed playing it because he's like, I'll just be myself.
But he's good in those movies. I liked him as like he's like the old
He's
veteran
a great actor. He's a great
alien
actor.
hunter. Yeah, he's a good actor. He's great in what's the big one? The old man movie. What's it called? Like the
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men. Yeah, he's fantastic. That end scene where he's just kind of like, I don't
What
understand.
about
like,
fucking
the world
Volcano,
anymore.
bro?
No,
He's
not
amazing in
Volcano. Not Volcano, but No Country for Old Men. Like that epilogue scene. I think about that scene of that movie. I haven't seen the film in over a decade, but I think about that epilogue scene like all the time. That's it just rings so true. He's so great at his performance in that, in my opinion.
I really loved No Country for Old Men when I saw it in theaters, and there was like nobody there. And I was like, man, this should be like a Best Picture kind of deal. I had the same feeling with Gladiator. There's only 2 movies that I ever watched in the theater where I was like, Best Picture, yeah. I don't like it so much now. People think that ending, I've heard criticisms about like that ending is like pretentious or whatever. I think it ends well because it's like more like frankly realistic. It doesn't end like a story should. Like for example, Javier Bardem's character kills the wife at the end, and you're like, holy fuck, that happened.
Yeah. Spoilers for a like 13-year-old movie, by the way, or 14 or however old movie. But
And the way they show it, they don't show it. They just show him walking out of the house, and you just know. And it's like then he gets fucked up in an accident. You're like, ah ha ha, fuck you. And it's just circumstance at that point. You're like, Coen Brothers, man, they're weird with their movies.
they're very weird, but they're
like-
good. They know what they're
like-
doing.
I like A Serious Man. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Barton Fink is fucking fucked up and weird.
I feel like they make the movies they want to make, right? Like you don't watch a Coen Brothers movie and you're like, okay, this was studio interference, with the scene here, or like whatever. It's like no, like they
Exactly.
make the movies they want to make.
Have you seen Burn After Reading?
I have not. I don't
John
believe.
Malkovich.
No, I didn't see that one.
Give me my memoir. That's like John Malkovich when he does the Christmas sketch on SNL. He doesn't say Saint Nick, he says Sant Nick. He has this grand kind of like way of talking that's really appealing.
He seems like a dude that could be a bit of a weirdo, maybe, but
It's
I don't
like
know.
Shadow of the Vampire. He's yelling at Willem Dafoe because he ate the script girl, and he's like, "Why are you eating the script girl? The script girl is necessary." I'm like, Jesus, only John Malkovich. I can't do an impression, but it's like his inflections.
The movie they made, I think you might have said Interview with a Vampire, but I think that's not the movie you're
Shadow
talking
of the
about.
Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire,
It's a fictional movie
Right.
about the making of Nosferatu,
which
in
is
which
being
Max
remade.
Max Shrek the actor is an actual vampire, and like he kills some of the crew. And
I need to watch that. I'm a huge fan of Willem Dafoe. I think he's a great actor. He's like the best part of any Spider-Man movie. I liked him in a bunch. I liked him in both 2 Vietnam movies, Platoon and Flight of the Intruder. They're both 2 good films from the 80s.
he's great in Mr. Bean's Holiday.
Is he like the bad guy in that or something? I never saw that either.
He just plays Willem Dafoe.
Okay. But yeah, he's always good. So I should see him being Nosferatu, which is being remade. That film is being remade by the guy who did
Robert
Witch
Eggers.
and Lighthouse and Northman and all of that. Yeah, Robert Edgers.
Yep.
Which is funny. Me and my Tex-Trek co-host Dave, we were hanging out a week ago on Christmas Day, watching some movies, and we watched his film The Northman. And one of the comments I made was there's some scenes like on a ship, on a boat in that, which kind of echoed some of the stuff he shot for The Lighthouse. And it made me think like, oh, this guy seems to like, he really likes like nautical stuff on boats and shit. In Nosferatu, there's a really famous moment of like the death ship has a new captain where like Nosferatu rises from his coffin on the ship, transporting him from the continent to Britain when he goes to England, or I don't know. That's in Dracula. I don't know how they describe it in Nosferatu, which was a little different, but I think that's definitely going to be a sequence in this new movie, is what I'm getting at. There's definitely going to be like some like vampire killing sailors on a ship during a sea storm. I'm calling it now. That will be in this new Robert Eggers Nosferatu movie.
Does anybody know who's playing the vampire?
No.
Wouldn't matter anyway, because Robert, if you ever watched The Lighthouse with Defoe and Pattinson, that is a strange kind of horror movie. There is a scene where he kills a bird, and it is one of the hardest animal deaths to watch. It's just so fucking like he's so angry, and he takes this bird and they don't cut away. It's just like holy shit. It looks so real too, right?
In what movie?
The Lighthouse.
Apparently, it's Bill Skarsgård
Bill Skarsgård is the vampire.
is going to be This is September 22. Bill Skarsgård is attached to play the titular character, and Lily Rose Depp is in talks to co-star.
Okay, so it's Johnny Depp's daughter who hung out with Kevin Smith's daughter.
And
Right.
They did yoga hosers.
Apparently, Nicholas Holt is supposed to be in it too.
Well then, yeah.
And of course, Anya Taylor Joy, because she's in all his movies,
But
basically.
there's some parts of The Lighthouse that really put you in mind of a old black and white horror movie. It's like he has that eye for that style, and the lighthouse itself they built in Nova Scotia on the water. Like they built the stuff to make it look like just isolated and actually from like way back when, right? And
Right down the street from you, PJ, up in St. John's.
no across the water, across the ocean, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The movie's flipped out. It's kind of existential, and at one point you're like, "What is reality? I don't get it." There's like sea sirens and
We
Mermaid
talked
fucking.
we talked over it, but I see at my clock now it's 1:09 a.m. here in Austin, Texas, which means that over 9 minutes ago we hit the new year in the Mountain Time Zone here in the United States. So those of y'all who tune in from I don't know Nevada, Utah, Arizona, I think is West Coast, but I think Nevada is. I don't know New Mexico and like Idaho, and maybe I don't know. I don't know what's the Mountain Time Zone, but Happy New Year's, y'all! If it's New Year's where you are, if it's 2023, cool. Welcome to the new year. And Joel and our live audience is both singing the praises of both Willem Dafoe and The Lighthouse. So I see Joel. We agree once again. I'm a huge fan of the actor Willem Dafoe. I'm a huge fan of that movie, The Lighthouse. I need to watch it again because it occurs to me I've only seen it the one time in theaters, but. And Quark's Bar is saying Willem Dafoe is Wes Anderson good.
I've never seen a Wes Anderson film.
I don't think I have either, which is I'm ashamed to say. Like he grew up in Houston and then went to film school here in Austin at University of Texas. I feel like I should be like obligated to like watch all of his movies. I know like Rushmore is supposedly like really good.
Rushmore is my favorite.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of his work either. Or was he like the Mr. Fox or whatever, like the stop motion movie that looks neat?
Yeah, and I saw parts of that, but I didn't finish watching it. It was pretty cool, interesting style. I mean, he's got a very signature style. So if you like one of his movies,
What's the
likely like all his movies.
What's the stoner movie that like it'd be a lot cooler if you did movie like
Dazed and Confused?
Did he do Dazed and Confused? There's that like
no,
it was Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was shot here in Austin. Like the burger place in that movie, Top Notch. Like I've never seen the movie, but like I go to that burger place like all the time. It's just like not that far. It's just like a few miles from where I live, but I've never watched the movie.
Did you know that Richard Linklater's first movie, Slacker, actually was the movie that influenced Kevin Smith to make Clerks?
Yeah, another movie. I'm ashamed to say I've never watched Slacker. I know I've needed to watch that movie. I personally know people who are in that movie, and I still have not gotten around to watching it. But I need to. Is it streaming anywhere? I should watch it soon.
I don't know.
I don't know. Have you ever seen people you know in movies, and then it takes you right the fuck out of it? You're like, I can't do it now.
I don't get that problem, but I hear people talk about that. It doesn't hit me as hard.
There's a movie with Brendan Gleeson. He's the father, right? Brendan Gleeson.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Taylor Kitsch called The Grand Seduction. It's a remake of a French film. And it's set in Newfoundland or whatever. And then there's one part where they go to the city and like workers are getting off work, and I see this guy that I really don't like. And I'm like, fuck you, movie. Anyway, that's just a stupid thing. He was an extra. Like, he didn't have a speaking part. He was just like, but he was with the love interest he was with one of the main characters. So the shot was on for like, I was like, you're showing him too long Fucking assholes. I used to be jealous when my cousin was in a TV show, and he'd like show up in the show. He used to play like like he'd steal stuff and he'd cause all kinds of trouble. And him and another guy is also like some dirtbag who like I'm not saying I don't like my cousin, but this other guy I don't like. So like I used to remember as a kid, I'm like, why do these fucking assholes get to be on a TV show? It didn't last long. The show was like done and over with pretty quick. Just like every other Canadian TV show that comes out. I'm amazed. There's a show called Out.
I miss Todd and the Book of Evil. Did you ever see that? It was a Canadian show.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah. There was also
Never
Video
watched
Game
it.
High School. It was another great Canadian show.
Do you remember Catwalk?
Yeah,
The Canadian TV show with Nev Campbell?
I don't know. I don't think I ever saw it.
I don't think so. I'm not familiar with that one.
Did anybody see Power Rangers the movie in theaters back in the day?
The one in 1994.
Oh, you mean the old school Power Rangers one?
I saw that one in I didn't see like the more recent one, but I saw that one in the theater.
Yeah, I saw the old school one in the theater. And I saw the Pokemon movie with Mewtwo.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was a teenager going on a date to see that movie once upon a time in the year 2000.
It was one of my favorite things as a kid to go to a movie version of a TV show you were watching. X-Files, Fight the Future. I was like,
Yeah.
I was giddy. Same thing with the first time I saw Star Trek Generations. It might have been one of the happiest times of my fucking life. Even
You
though
saw it in the theater when it came out? Original
yes,
run?
to see the Enterprise D and like the TNG crew. Oh, it's like I can't wait for DS9 and Voyager then, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. The first Star Trek movie I saw in the theater was First Contact because I didn't really get into Star Trek until '94 was like my big push into the fandom. The promotion for
I think it was Star
Generations.
Trek 4.
What's the first thing you saw?
I think that's the first Star Trek I saw in theaters.
Well, I was a very little baby when Star Trek 4 came out.
Yeah, I know for sure I saw Star Trek 6 because I remember when the signatures were on the screen. That was a very tear-jerking moment for a 13-year-old or whatever I was back then. Thinking, oh my god, that's it. This is the last Star Trek movie. Little did I know.
Nope, there's literally been more since then than there was before then.
Eat more Star Trek. Oh, Star Wars. Oh.
I mean, we haven't had a Star Trek movie in a while. We currently live in the longest gap between Star Trek movies. I'm sure there will be another one at some point.
I'm sure.
Donnie Pearson is here. He says, "Happy 2023. Hope all is well. It's still 2022 for me until midnight Pacific."
Yeah, so he's got another 43 minutes to go. So I'd love to sorry, I'm coughing. I would love to stay on the stream until we get to New Year's for the West Coast people. Folks in Alaska or Hawaii or anywhere west of that, I don't think we're going to hit y'all, but we can at least make it till New Year's for California and Washington and Oregon and Nevada and those people.
I'm going to sell out the West Coast and call it a night for myself, friends.
Well, Ruben, it was good to see you. I hope you're having
Long
a
and
great
prosper.
New Year. Yeah, you do the same.
Until the next stream.
Adios, buddy.
Adios. Good evening. I bid you adieu.
So that was our visitation from Ruben the Martian down in Florida.
Did you watch Halo?
I did. I watched every episode of the show. I don't remember. I don't remember very much though.
It was I couldn't do it after I think episode 5 maybe. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, can't do it.
I'm one of them Halo nerds that like I haven't played the most recent game, but I've played all the games up until the latest one, which I would like to play at some point. I just need some more fucking time. I feel like I have no free time these days, but I thought the show was aight. It was okay.
It's yeah. early on in 2022 as well. It was almost forgotten about.
I had forgotten about it until you mentioned it, to be honest.
I love how Beavis and Butthead is a multiverse now. It's so cool.
Yeah, I need to watch some of that the new show that they've done, because I've only seen the latest movie that they did on Paramount Plus.
It's crazy because it doesn't make sense in terms of time travel rules, because technically they're the Beavis and Butthead from the 90s transported to now,
Yeah.
but you still have Mr. Anderson and the teacher, and they seem to be the same age. So they just abandoned that concept, I think, in the show proper. But in the movie that preceded it, Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, they open it up to where Beavis and Butthead are transported into the future, but in another universe, there's a time where they actually grew up throughout the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s, and you get to see them as old men in modern times, and you get to see them as teenagers in modern times. So they incorporate that concept into the show, where you will have a short where, like, the multiverse Beavis and Butthead, who look like aliens, they introduce the short and say, we have opened up the multiverse, and this is a story from a different place. They explained it to you anyway. I don't know how they explain it. It's like, in their dumb Beavis and Butthead way. And then they show a sketch of old ass Beavis and Butthead in 2022, and then they can show a sketch of young ass transported Beavis and Butthead, which never makes any sense anyway, because you still have the same characters from the show years ago. It would have been interesting if they had made Mr. Anderson like really old now, and like the teacher really
He already
old.
looked really old. Like, Anderson was already like, he was like totally bald, right? So
Ain't you them two kids that have been whacking off in my tool shed?
yeah.
I love it. I love in the movie where the wife is like, they're here to fix the TV, Tom. The TV ain't broken. Them damn buzzard hawks. It's like he's fucking good.
Yeah, he talks like if Hank Hill had a stroke. But in the live audience, I
What in
see
the hell?
Quark's Bar is asking, was Peacemaker the best show of 2022?
It was one of them.
And it was a very good show. Yeah, I don't. What else did I watch in 2022 that was there? Like, I like Andor, but I still need to watch the last 2 episodes. I know it's terrible. I haven't finished it yet. I need to. I like it. Also, I like House of the Dragon, but not as much as Peacemaker. Peacemaker was much better. I don't know. Severance. I think Severance might be my favorite show of 2022.
Severance is good. Peacemaker, Better Call Saul was really good. It ended. Didn't mind the last season of or parts of the last season of Walking Dead. Andor is certainly great. The Bear.
It's a lot of good shows out there. I haven't watched many of those because, as PJ knows, I don't. I mainly watch Star Trek, to be honest. But I do occasionally watch other things like Andor or Severance. And
You know what's interesting about that show, Atlanta? It's a great show, and the last 2 seasons go really out there in terms of like it becomes an anthology series with like really strange, like kind of like, it almost feels like Outer Limits at some points. Like it gets really kind of weird, but it's really great. But it's one of those shows where they did the 3rd season. The third season was released after a really long kind of like hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
And then they immediately came out and said, 4th season coming in a couple of months, and it's going to be the last. So it was like an interesting show to watch, because you get to watch. I personally, on Disney Plus when it was released, I got to watch 2 new seasons of this show, pretty like consecutively, and it ended so well. It's a great show. Atlanta, Donald Glover, crazy. Some of the shit, like, I can't even describe it. It's just, whoa, out there. There's one kind of Tyler Perry knock or parody of Tyler Perry and his industry, like kind of industry he's built with,
Mm-hmm.
It's not flattering, and it's weird, and it's like, It's about this mother who goes to play a small part on a show, and then there's this man who you don't see, who's always on a speaker, who knows everything that's going on, and like he wants the woman's daughter to guest in the show, and then she's like really good, and then in the course of a day they're giving this little girl all these parts, and the mother can never find her, and like she starts going like crazy, and then she meets like this Tyler Perry like figure played by Donald Glover in like elaborate makeup, and like he's fucking insane.
Oh my!
He's like,
goodness.
"We will have your daughter work for us," and like it's like, and she's like, "No, I want my daughter back," and it becomes like
That's
really
funny.
fucking weird and scary. It's like,
Yeah, that's funny.
oh man,
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some bad stories about Tyler Perry. I'm sure we've all heard these stories.
oh,
but-
I'm not saying, and I have I don't think anything bad of him at all. It's just the way the show was. You're like, clearly this is supposed to be Tyler Perry, and it's not flattering. I don't know why, but it's like it's all about like it's some kind of commentary on like it's almost like they're saying his content has no artistic value. Like it's kind of like just bare minimum churning out product.
Mhm.
It's like a kind of almost like a business or corporate mentality to it.
You know, he was in Star Trek. He was an admiral in Star Trek '09 when like Chris Pine and Zach Quinto were there at Starfleet Academy. He was the big admiral in that conference room.
Barbara Walters passed away, 93 years old.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, man, like she must have like I was my immediate reaction when I saw that was like wow, she must have been like getting close to 100. Because you know what my thought on it was like everyone who was like already like really old when I was a little kid, they all seem to be dead now. So I was like, oh my god, like she was still alive. She must have been like old as hell. But a very iconic figure if you I guess grew up in North America.
She interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah. I didn't know that Walter Koenig's wife died a few weeks ago. I didn't see that until recently, but I guess she did as well.
Was that before he filmed or recorded the podcast with the Shuttle Pod people? Connor Trenier and...
I don't think so. It's probably more recent. But I was sad to see that. He's a cool dude. He lost his son about like a decade ago. He had a son who killed himself. Who did also appeared in Star Trek. He was in DS9 and did some other acting. But yeah, that's got to be a pretty shitty experience. So sorry to hear that he just lost his wife recently.
Can't believe it's 2023.
Yeah, it's weird. It's 2023 for 27 minutes where I am. We still have another 33 minutes before they hit New Year's out on the West Coast. There's a lot of cool Star Trek to look forward to in 2023 though.
So we're assuming, well, Picard is first, and I guess they haven't announced what's after that, but I'm assuming it's Strange New Worlds. That's the pattern.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Strange New Worlds premiered the same night as the Picard finale, which is funny enough going to be April 20th is the date of the Picard season 3, or I guess I should say the series finale. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. If there's 10 episodes, then they premiere on February 16th. They end on April 20th.
We're finally going to get the 5th and final season of Star Trek Discovery.
I don't know if it'll be the final season. I think there's
10 episodes, reduced episode. That's a dedication.
They seem to be talking like just based on things like Michelle Paradise, the showrunner, and the series lead, Sonequa Martin Green, have said they seem to be thinking there's going to be a season 6. So That's kind of my expectation at this point. But I don't. 6 might be the end for that show. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, Discovery is one of those shows that even if it did end, I wouldn't be so broken up about it because I think the characters could live on in any other kind of
Yeah,
iteration
yeah,
of whatever's coming next. You know what I mean? And timelines be damned because we know that doesn't matter. As somebody can show up at a different time. It's like make it happen. I wouldn't mind like if at any point, like you say, 6 or maybe even beyond, but whenever it ends, that like couple of years pass, you have some character like Saru show up somewhere or Burnham or whatever.
hmm or Tilly. I think is likely to show up in another show. There's a lot of people were speculating she might be in a Section 31 or not Section 31, but a Starfleet Academy show. They're going to do a Academy spinoff, which they've always talked about doing. I think it's kind of unnecessary now. I feel like Prodigy is probably covering like that ground, but yeah, I don't know. If they want to do it in live action, they could do it in the 32nd century and have Tilly be like the instructor character.
I would rather every show just 25th century. Have every show going forward have the opportunity to incorporate actors who are of the appropriate age that have been in there before. We don't need any more prequels and reimaginings because we know that even in the modern era, it's contradictory. Let's face it, Prodigy and Lower Decks and Discovery and Picard and Strange New Worlds, there isn't a singular visual kind of mandate behind them all. In some ways, that's good because there's more, it seems like creative freedom has been given more to individual showrunners. And each one has their own interpretation of the Trek world. So, for example, Prodigy will incorporate elements of the Kelvin design and aesthetic, transport effect being one of them. But you could always argue that everything's together in a multiversal kind of sense, but whatever. And then Lower Decks has a certain like adherence to like strict visual canon that live action really can't do because like I don't know. I don't know about what's going to happen in Picard season 3 in terms of I know you see familiar things, but I'm just wondering like how faithful like visually like if you're going to show like we saw that set of the Enterprise D. Is that going to be there? What reason? Like, are we going to see people walk on thing, or is it like how accurate will that be? The way they did the Enterprise D in Picard, not 100% what it looked like. Good enough. Looks very cinematic, but it looks too shiny. You know what I mean? So it's just like little things, like they try, but I don't know. Like for example, that Prodigy episode when they do the holodeck. And they're on the Enterprise D, and you have Odo and Nichelle Nichols and all these people. Everything is true to form, like nothing's fucked with to any kind of significant degree. But in live action, they always have to go that extra step with the reimagining, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, like, will there be things like the warp drive tunnels that they like to do post Discovery? Will that still be a thing in Picard season 3? Or when we know they're trying to get kind of more back to basics with the old school flavor of things. So yeah, I'm curious to see that myself. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. Not long. It's February is very, very soon.
And we get season 4. Oh my god, season 4 of Lower Decks. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with T'Lyn. She's gonna be the new addition, kind of like shake things up.
I was waiting for her to show up as a main crew member because the best episode of Lower Decks is Wejdij. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, and they made us wait all season long just to get like the small little barely like on screen um appearance of her at the end of season 3.
And you know what? It's not a knock on the show, but it does need new blood. It it needs new characters, and not like Kayshawn where he's just like there and gone.
Yeah, there's never been like a Kayshawn episode. I think we're gonna get like Talon centric stories in season 3.
And you know what? This Mariner Freeman bullshit. Just stop. We don't need any more of it. Have it all worked out, mother and daughter. At this point, it's just like you're beating a dead horse.
I would like if they said on screen why they use different last names, but I don't know. I should probably like read some of these comments we're getting in the live audience. Johnny Pearson says the score by Stephen Barton would be among the things I would love best about the final season of Picard. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the score. We got a hint of that in that new clip that they revealed on the Ready Room, and it sounded very Goldsmithy to me. It sounded like very much like a lot of the Goldsmith music for the TNG movies, like First Contact and Insurrection and Nemesis were all scored by him. I don't know, PJ. What do you think about that clip or
Yeah,
the music in it?
it sounded great. It sounded classic, very classic Star Trek with a new flair. I want to see these goddamn last 2 episodes in a movie theater. And if they had any sense, I suppose I don't know if they would do it if the ratings like or the streaming views went through the roof or something. They were like, wow, this is a big hit. Let's do the last 2 like they do the Game of Thrones in some seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go to theater and watch it in friggin' IMAX. Maybe they should do that with Picard because it's supposed to be like the last hurrah.
Yeah, although Patrick Stewart keeps talking about like at every convention appearance and stuff he does, he keeps saying like, "Yes, we should do a another movie now." And I'm like, "Oh, so it sounds like you survive the show. You're still going to be alive at the end, and you want to do a movie." So I
You know
don't know if
what's
that's going to happen, but
you know what? With this Kelvin thing, which I don't think is ever going to happen, like it's one of the most like reported on movies that never happens. And like every time they ask Zachary Quinto or anybody, they're like, oh no, I don't know. It's like they never know. And it's like, I just want people to stop asking them because they just probably don't even care at this point. 2 chances of a movie, and the new Star Trek movie, could be a Prodigy film. I don't know how popular Prodigy is. Maybe if it isn't as popular as I think, they might not. But Nickelodeon is known for making movie versions of their TV shows fairly quickly, like 2-3 seasons in, stuff like that.
mm-hmm. And the Nickelodeon dude is now like head of Paramount Pictures.
And you could definitely do like a kids Star Trek movie that maybe wouldn't be for everybody, and sure people would be like, oh, this is the Star Trek movie you come out with, fucking blah blah blah. But at the same time, what if you did a new Star Trek movie that is an actual real sequel to Nemesis that may not include TNG as a main front, but other like DS9 stuff and Voyager characters. Maybe even have the movie take place partially on DS9. I think
I
more
would
than
love
anything,
that.
that would get people in the fucking seats.
Yeah, I don't know if it would like do the numbers that they seem to want. Like with the lesson we learned, I guess, with Star Trek Beyond
Never
was
will.
yeah, Paramount like they wanted like $1 billion movie with Star Trek Beyond, and yeah, like I mean, like it didn't happen.
You can make a Star Trek movie fucking 90 to 100 minutes for a good budget, a reasonable budget, and make a good fucking return on that. The problem is having it be so effects laden and so dependent on CGI action with the Kelvin stuff that it's gonna cost a fortune.
Yeah, and especially like bringing all those actors back, like that's gonna be expensive. They're all like huge stars at this point.
They're too good for it now. Let's be honest.
That was like a big thing why the Star Trek movies they always get too expensive after a while because you want to bring back all these characters and by the time they were doing Star Trek 6 they're like, okay, we really have to stop because y'all are asking for so much money to come back for the sixth time. Like I get it. I don't blame the actors at all for that, but then with the Next Generation movies, like by the time they were doing Nemesis, it's like, man, like these are really getting expensive because every time we got to pay people more than we paid them the last time. And again, I do not blame the actors for that at all, but there's a reason why they like to like reboot the thing every now and then, going from like TOS to TNG to Kelvin.
And if you had like actors like Nana Visitor or Alexander Siddig lead a movie, which they could. They're not big stars. See, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You would need to have these legacy actors, reasonable salaries, and let's face it, they're not going to demand like what Chris Pine or Zoe Saldana, for example, would demand. They're all within the right to. But keep it like 90. I know you can't. It's hard to make a movie under 100 million with, especially a space movie, but try to keep it 100, 120 million. You could definitely fucking make it back. Just make a good story. Like just that's all you need. You need a good, compelling story that even if it doesn't do well at the beginning, word of mouth will be like, oh no, this is a return to form. Like this is like William Shatner fucking days or whatever the hell. The William Shatner days.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great way for them to approach it. I don't know what Paramount Pictures is going to think going forward. I know that they're probably going to be like, well, Top Gun makes so much money, Transformers makes so much money. What's the point in us doing Star Trek if it's not going to make the same level of money like it did with the first two Kelvin films? But yeah, I don't think. Like,
but here's the thing. Here's the main point about any new film. It needs to be about the Enterprise and its crew. Now, given that, whoever's on the Enterprise F, we're going to know in season 3 of Picard to some extent. I don't know in what kind of detail, but maybe if like, oh, this crew is pretty cool. Let's get to. The audience wants to know more about them. Spin them off into a movie, and then have Seven do her Titan A fucking series with Rafi. There you go.
Yeah, I would think they're more likely to do that type of thing on one of the shows, probably not a big budget movie, but I think it would work as a film.
We need a new Star Trek movie about Enterprise post Nemesis. It's always seemed like the only logical thing to me that they never end up doing. And every time I hear about Kelvin, I'm like, cool, but no, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, if there's any chance of it happening, I predict it's going to be when they're all like old.
Yeah. I'm sure it's gonna happen at some point because Hollywood doesn't let anything die. Like everything, like there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming out, so I think eventually we will see Chris Pine as Captain Kirk again. I think that's a given, but I don't know if it'll be anytime soon.
directed by a movie, and the next movie should be directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah. He's kind of he jokes about being in movie jail after Insurrection didn't make very much money.
There's some clock stoppers or
Yeah,
some
then he did Clock Stoppers, and then he did
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds, and they all flopped. So they're like, okay, no more movies for you. You're a TV director.
Well, he was given crap to direct, so
Yeah, I don't think any of those had a great script or anything. But I don't know. I didn't. The only one I saw was Star Trek Insurrection. How was what do you think like the potential for Clock Stoppers or what was the other one that you Thunderbirds? What was going on there?
I think they just sucked. Nobody wanted to see them. Just like no interest.
I'd be open to him doing a Star Trek movie though. Like I think like if you give him like if you give him a good script, you'll get like First Contact. Like he definitely can deliver on the goods.
Yeah. He can.
Because that's a good thing to look forward to in 2023 is what will be the Star Trek movie news.
If I hear one more thing about Kelvin movie finds new writer, new director, nobody's gonna believe it. Like you cried wolf so many times, it's like it means nothing. It's not even news.
Yeah.
If they were filming it, people would be like, I don't believe it. They had set pictures of Pine and Zoe's. Be like, I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna fall apart.
Are we at that point where people are just like totally giving up on it?
Yep.
But I'm fine with if Star Trek Beyond is the last like true Kelvin movie, at least for like this era. I'm more than okay with that. If they want to, do something else, if they want to change course and make a radically different movie, I'd be here for it.
And listen, Trek, as much as it wants to be, is not the MCU, and it can have like, it can't just coast on like absurdity through the lens of multiverse. Like, for example, why the hell you got friggin' new Kirk now in Strange New Worlds? You're presumably gonna have new other TOS characters show up in season 2. We've already had a new Spock since what, 2018, 2019?
19, yeah.
So to have like a Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine come back as that Kirk and that Spock, while having simultaneously different actors play them around the same age, mind you. Well, actually not really, but not at this point, but it's just it's a weird brand confusion that we as fans would understand, but just like which
more
one?
casual people.
It's
Yeah,
just like,
like
what's going on here? Like, which direction are you going in? It seems like it would continue that. You know how it felt separate for a while between the TV and with the Kelvin. It's like the Kelvin is in place because it has to be separate. Now all that legal stuff has gone away, so we don't need that divide anymore. So why don't we just unify the universe in TV and movies again, like it was, and not continue to have Kelvin-y mixed with Prime reboot cast?
Yeah, and I'm suspicious of the reasons why that may or may not happen. I think a large part of it has to do with, like, Alex Kurtzman is in charge of like the TV stuff now, and I don't know if they want him doing their movies because they were probably wanting like their movies. They have like there's more people, there's more cooks in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be like tighter control over who they hire to do that stuff. And so I don't know if they're going to like select Alex Kurtzman to be their movie dude. And kind of has like a checkered past of like what was successful movies, what wasn't. Some big hits, including Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, were both co-written by him. But yeah, I don't know if they want to like turn over their Star Trek movie franchise to the guy doing their TV stuff.
Yeah, there's no unified vision.
But that was the thing, with Rick Berman doing the TV shows. At the same time, you had Harv Bennett doing, Star Trek 5, and then they did Star Trek 6 with, it was kind of Nimoy and Nicholas Myers were kind of like the dudes in charge of Star Trek 6. But they kept that separate from their TV dude, Rick Berman, doing Next Generation. So I don't know if they would maybe go that approach. When Rick Berman was doing TV and movies at the same time, that was arguably like the worst period of his era, of his reign over the Star Trek franchise. So who knows?
But they can't expect it to be Star Wars, and they can't expect it to be a $1 billion franchise, like you said.
Yeah.
It has to. They had to have a goal of like, we want to make a Star Trek movie. Number one, for the fans. Let's put aside all the insecurities about like, will general audiences get this and get that? If the movie's well written and the story is good, audience doesn't have to know every little detail. If they get the gist of it, it's okay. And whatever little tidbits in there are for people who've watched every episode of everything and every movie, that's also really good too. But you can't just, like, 2009 was the beginning of Star Trek being self-aware and winking at the camera almost and saying, we are in a Star Trek universe, we are in a Star Trek, like the red shirt who parachutes down, he dies right away. We know that's coming, and we're set up to laugh at a guy's death, which works for the general audience, but like at the same time, this doesn't feel like genuine. Like I'm not watching a movie that takes itself seriously. And it does get really fucking goofy, and it's fun to a degree. And then Into Darkness comes along, and it's so overly serious to the point where it just feels absurd. And when the Khan says, "I'm Khan," nobody in the audience flinched. They're just like, we kind of knew that.
I denied that all the way up until I saw the movie. Even though, like, I know, like, IMDb was already calling, like, Benedict Cumberbatch Khan and shit like that. Memory Alpha was, too, by the way. But I was just like, no, like, I don't think he's Khan. I think that's going to be a big red herring. And boy, was I wrong.
And then at the end, when Kirk is the one who dies, and then Spock screams, Khan. I'm not joking. I literally threw my hands up like, like what the and people were like, what's your problem, bro? Like, we love this. And actually, you know what? The second time I saw it, I put aside all of the bullshit, and I just said, I'm just gonna watch this as a mindless action movie. And I have to give it credit. Into Darkness has the best visual effects of any Star Trek film.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous movie. Yeah. The cinematography is off the chain in that film, and I don't hate it. There's other Star Trek movies I liked less than Star Trek Into Darkness.
I cannot watch it.
That movie works for me.
I think it's on the bottom of my list because I can never bring myself to watch it. I tried, and then I'm like, no. I've gone back and watched Beyond. I've watched 09. And I'm sick of those now. I probably wouldn't go back to them now. But man, I can still go back and watch Motion Picture all the way to Nemesis. Nemesis probably, and Insurrection probably not so much. They're probably on the bottom too, as well. But
my bottom two are Generations and Insurrection. Those are the Star Trek movies I have the least desire to rewatch.
Quarks Bar says the 2023 script in development will be about an egomaniac buying subspace for 44 billion bars of gold pressed platinum.
Oh, and then losing. I saw today Elon Musk And I think it's dumb how they like rank how much money people have because it's all based on, like assets you own, not like actual dollar
Cash.
amount of anything. But I guess Elon Musk became the first person to lose $200 billion. That's never happened to anyone else before. But it's like his estimated wealth, so it's not like the actual amount he truly has or anything. But yeah, it's still kind of funny.
Can we talk about the biggest breakthrough, the biggest scientific breakthrough of 2022, which is probably one of the biggest in a decade, maybe more, is
Oh,
the fusion energy.
yeah, I heard about that, but I don't know the specifics. So if you want to enlighten us, PJ, please go ahead.
Apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've learned to harness the power of the sun, and which can actually cold fusion, baby, uh, which can power like a lot of like if you really think about it, if the world wasn't held back by the oil industry. By the way, Who
Hmm.
Killed the Electric Car is a wonderful documentary that is shocking about like how the world, how the like humanity is literally held back by corporate interests. It's like it's like greed over progress and like
Yeah,
a better tomorrow. It's like destroy the earth for a few more decades, see where we're at then, and then when we get to a point where we're almost at like no point of return and we're fucked, and if we don't start doing something, we're especially fucked. Then we're gonna start like the idea of electric cars, and
hmm,
we could have had all of this plus more plus free energy decades ago if it wasn't for you know people's ideas about free energy or anything like that being fucking squashed, people being just fucking taken out, just like through fucking legal means or whatever. The electric car, man, a lot of celebrities back in the day were into that, and it's like they shut that down.
yeah. That's
Electric,
kind of depressing, but I would love to have a never have to buy gas again.
and then again, the means to produce lithium batteries like cobalt mining, and it's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. Where everything comes from that we enjoy is all fucked up. And to get into it would be tragic. It would be just so depressing. Like with the luxuries and advantages we have, aren't there like literal sweat and blood and just like terrible
Mm.
conditions and nefarious means?
Yeah, things like cobalt and lithium. I think like the mining they use for those types of things.
How us in the Western world we've benefited from birth from slave labor.
Yeah,
It's sad, and we don't. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I'm just an idiot, just trying to get by. I don't know what the solution is. Will we ever have world peace? Do you ever think the world? Okay, we have these conspiracy theorists for years, but like they're moving toward a world government, and I've always thought like, wait, you mean eventually we're gonna move to a place where the world cooperates? And they don't mean it. They don't mean it that way. They mean like a cabal of rich getting richer and poor getting poorer, and like
right.
everybody living in a welfare kind of state type of thing, and it eventually leading to like socialism or something like that. But in the Star Trek world, it always seemed to me that
Yeah,
everybody
world
got
peace is a good thing.
in the Star Trek world, everybody seemed to have got the bare minimum: a place to live and things to eat and clothing to wear. And whatever you want beyond that, maybe like certain entertainment was free and all this, but what internet are saying like people should have the right to internet now, like anywhere. Like the
Yeah,
government should just because it's so essential in so many things now.
I agree with that.
I think we should get to that place where everybody's everybody's given, like, nobody's houseless. Like, somebody has a dwelling and enough to eat and clothes to wear. And that should be the bare minimum for every human being. We have the means to do it. It's just the organizations of the world just can never get to that place.
In the live audience, Joel is saying hi, Amos, to my dog, who's sitting in my lap now. I feel a little bit better. He doesn't have like the loud fireworks going off. I think most of my neighbors, they've already shut off all the fireworks that they have.
Is his
I
heart
say
still
that,
pounding?
but no, he seems to have calmed down. So it might have been that treat, the special treat I gave him. But yeah, he's definitely doing much better now. I think
It's New Year's in California and the
not
West Coast.
not
Right?
quite. It's still 1:59 on my clock, but we're about to hit that. The big New Year's for them. PJ over here, he's already been in 2023 for what, like three and a half hours?
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. So yeah, old news to him. Yeah, but the people in Cali, they're still in 2022 for a few final seconds before they hit the new year of 2023. Any second
10,
now.
9. Oh, Happy New
Oh,
Year.
there we go. There we go. So it is now New Year's all the way across the nation in the continental United States, in the contiguous, the lower 48, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, everywhere but California and Hawaii. They have to keep waiting.
Wait, California is it's 12 o'clock in California now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. California. That's when things show up on Netflix or Disney Plus at this time.
Yeah. If you're like sitting up to watch like a new episode of Mandalorian, now would be the time.
Actually, I'm gonna watch before I go to bed. I'm gonna watch some Tulsa King and a new episode of 1923 on Paramount Plus. Tulsa King is not good, but I still watch it.
How is 1923? That has Harrison Ford, right? I see his picture all over Paramount Plus.
Dude, I don't know what it is about this Taylor Sheridan guy. He plays one of the cowboys in Yellowstone. He's a guest star kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But dude, he's built a TV cinematic universe that the Trek people should be friggin' jealous of. And say, look,
Really?
why aren't we getting his numbers? Why can't Trek be like this? Because Yellowstone, that universe, is not for everybody. It's kind of niche. I know some people can't fucking stand any of that shit, like and the Cowboys and the fucking Americanism of it and the patriotic kind of like tone to the Yellowstone, which is all part of the narrative. Like it's not preaching to anyone. Certainly, you can be on one side or the other and fucking why it doesn't matter. It's like it's just about these people and their values and ideals and in the gangster kind of way they deal with things that get in their way type of thing, right?
My dad and my sisters love that show. They're always talking about
so
it.
Good. And then there's a spin-off. It's 1883. It's about
it's a prequel.
It's about Kevin Costner's like great-great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's 1923 and Harrison Ford plays the great uncle of Kevin Costner's character in Yellowstone, who has raised Kevin Costner's great-grandfather. No, is it grandfather? Yeah, great-grandfather.
Okay.
And you actually see...
That's the 1923 dude?
Yes, you actually see the kid version of Kevin Costner's grandfather, who was like an old man in Yellowstone. So there's a bit of crossover there in terms of character because it's like just 100 years apart as opposed to like 120 or whatever it was, 140. So now we got yes, because it's 40 years after 1883. But it not only focuses on Helen Mirren is fucking awesome. She's the boss, right? Like she said what she says goes. And it's not only about Harrison Ford. There's also a subplot in Africa with one of the Duttons, who's he's a cat killer. He kills dangerous cats who attack people. like leopards and whatever, lions. And then there's a part about a native girl. It's like these nuns, the Aborigine or the native people. These young girls are sent to this nunnery where they're learning to like cook and clean. I guess I don't know I don't know what to be servants or what, but anyway, there's a relationship between an Irish nun and one of these girls that is like violent, and you see the violence that goes on in these places, and some of the sexual abuse too, and it's like it's fucking realistic. It's hardcore in terms of like it doesn't shy away from the realism of the time. Like it's like, oh, these this shit went on. I've heard about this shit, and like if, for example, if you were bad to a nun, or even if you hit a nun that was the worst. You hit a nun, right? Not only do you get sent to the priest guy with the fucking switch, who's gonna like beat you senseless. He's gonna beat that nun senseless.
Wow.
Which is incentive for that nun to really get her students or whatever subjects in line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this weird dynamic between this nun and this girl, and in the first 2 episodes at least, and it's like, holy shit, this is like so brutally honest. Yeah. And the dude from Game of Thrones is like an Irish antagonist to Harrison Ford.
Which dude?
Bronn. He's the one that was assistant to Jamie. I think his name is Bronn.
Yeah.
His sheep are grazing on lands where they're not supposed to, and Harrison Ford gives him the warning. You come on my round, I'm gonna hang you, basically, right? Dude doesn't listen. Stubborn. And Harrison Ford has them all on their horses with the ropes around their necks, all these Irish dudes, and just leaves them there. So some of the horses eventually run off and they die, and this guy's like all night like, whoa, trying to keep this horse still. It's fucking crazy.
You have to check that out. That sounds cool. I need to watch Yellowstone and 18 whatever and 19 whatever and see all of them. They all sound great.
In 1973 and 1992 and
yeah, I'm sure they're going to keep making them. As long as people are watching, they will keep making them. There's plenty of years left. And
you know the thing about Yellowstone? It's already a prequel sequel. It's present, but it often incorporates a younger cast to portray the same people in the 90s. So there's already a Yellowstone like 1993 incorporated within the Yellowstone series.
I didn't know that.
On top of the fact that they already did flashbacks of characters in 1883 before 1883 happened. And then post 1883, they actually show what happens after the events of 1883 in a Yellowstone flashback. Because that's a mini series that ends, like it can't go on in terms of like what the story it wants to tell. So Yellowstone's like, oh, you're wondering what happened to John Dutton. Here's a scene. It's all relative to the story or whatever, but yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It's good stuff.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I was just hanging out with some of my family at Christmas, and my dad and my sisters are really, really, really into that show. So I definitely need to check it out.
It's 3:47 hours.
Oh, well, if it's 47, we should wrap things up. That's a good time stamp to end on. So I'm ready to sign off, I guess.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Peace, long life, and love.
Have a great 2023. We'll sign off, but we'll Tex-Trek will have our live shows on Fridays, so keep tuning in. Dave and I are going to talk some DS9 soon. Nope, right, we're clicking in right now.